My name is Elise Mercer. I'm 31, and on the night my parents disowned me, my mother did it over a plate of untouched salmon, while the woman who had spent 28 years searching for me sat 3 tables away. My father kept his eyes on the white tablecloth. My younger sister, Lauren, slowly lifted her wineglass as if she were watching a show she had already paid for. Around us, forks stopped moving. The restaurant did not become silent all at once. It happened in pieces. A chair stopped scraping. Someone lowered a glass. A waiter stood near the kitchen doors with a tray balanced against his palm. Then my mother said the sentence she had been saving for most of my life. "You were never truly one of us." She said it softly. That made it worse. By the end of that night, my parents had lost control of the story they had told for 3 decades. Lauren had lost the inheritance she had already spent in her head, and I had learned why 3 strangers across the room had been looking at me as if they knew the shape of my face. But the strangest part was not that my real family was sitting 3 tables away. The strangest part was that my mother knew they were there. I need to back up. Some truths do not need shouting. They only need the right person to keep the receipts. If you have ever been made to feel like a guest inside your own family, you will understand why I stayed quiet for as long as I did. Tell me where you are listening from, and if stories about dignity, patience, and truth matter to you, stay with me and subscribe. The dinner happened on October 18th, but the story really began 26 years earlier, in a yellow kitchen with chipped floor tiles and a birthday cake that did not have my name on it. I was 5. Lauren was turning 3. The cake had pink roses pressed into white frosting. The bakery had written H, "Happy Birthday, Lauren," in red icing, though my mother had asked for pale pink. I remember her complaining about it for most of the afternoon. "Red is harsh," she kept saying. "It ruins the whole look." My mother cared deeply about how things looked. Our house stood on Linden Street in a town called Bellwether, about 40 miles outside the city. It was a narrow brick house with black shutters and a porch too small for the rocking chairs my mother insisted on keeping there. The chairs were not for sitting. They were for symmetry. Inside, everything had a place. The mail went into a silver tray. Shoes stayed behind the mudroom door. Family photographs sat on the hallway table in matching white frames. Lauren appeared in 14 of them. I appeared in 2. One was from the day my parents brought me home. I was wrapped in a cream blanket, and my mother was holding me carefully, the way people hold something borrowed. The second was a school photograph from 1st grade. My grandmother Ruth had put it there without asking. It stayed for 11 days. I knew because I counted. I counted things when I was small. I counted the steps between my bedroom and the bathroom. 12. I counted the ceiling cracks above my bed. 7, if I included the thin one that appeared only when the afternoon sun came through the blinds. I counted seconds of silence after I answered a question wrong. My mother's silences were never empty. They were decisions. On Lauren's 3rd birthday, there were 19 people in our kitchen and dining room. My mother had tied pink ribbons around the backs of the chairs. She had ordered small paper cups with Lauren's initials printed in gold. Each cup cost $1.80. I knew that because I heard my father say the price was ridiculous. My mother said memories were worth paying for. I was sitting on the bottom stair when she carried the cake into the dining room. Everyone sang. I sang too. Lauren blew out the candles before the song ended, and my mother laughed as if it were the most charming thing anyone had ever done. Then my Aunt Denise noticed me on the stairs. "Elise should stand beside her sister," she said. "Come on, honey, get in the picture." I started to stand. My mother placed one hand against the side of the cake. "Let Lauren have one photograph that is just hers." She smiled when she said it. Aunt Denise looked uncomfortable. My father looked at the floor. I sat back down. The camera flashed 3 times. That night, after everyone left, I found one of the gold paper cups under the table. It had been stepped on. Lauren's initials were bent through the middle. I kept it in the back of my closet for 6 years. Children collect proof before they understand what proof is. My parents had adopted me when I was 3. That was the official version. They told people I had come from a difficult situation, but they never explained what that meant. When I asked my mother where I had lived before our home, "Use," she said. "Somewhere you are better off forgetting." When I asked if I had another mother, she pressed her lips together. "I am your mother." I learned that the sentence was not an answer. It was a door, and it was locked. Lauren was born 18 months after I arrived. My mother called her a miracle because doctors had told her she might never carry a child. There were framed sonogram photographs in Lauren's baby book. There was a hospital bracelet taped beneath a note written in my mother's careful handwriting, the day our family became complete. My baby book was blue and mostly empty. On the first page, someone had written my name in pencil. Not my mother. The handwriting slanted sharply to the right. Under birthplace, there was a blank line. Under birth weight, another blank. The first photograph showed me standing beside my father's car in a coat that was too large. I was staring toward someone outside the frame. For years, I wondered who. I once asked my father. He studied the picture for a few seconds. Probably a social worker. Then he turned the page. My father was not cruel in the same way my mother was. My mother arranged cruelty. My father allowed it to remain arranged. He worked as a regional manager for a company that sold restaurant equipment. He left the house at 7:10 every morning and returned at 6:15 unless traffic was bad. He liked dark coffee, clean cars, and problems that could be solved without conversation. When my mother excluded me, he became interested in his phone. When she criticized me, he cleared his throat. When I looked at him for help, he offered practical advice. Don't make things harder than they need to be. It took me years to understand that he was not advising me. He was asking me to protect his comfort. The first time my mother told me I was not really one of them, I was 8. She did not use those exact words yet. She used smaller ones. We were visiting my father's parents for Thanksgiving. My grandfather had died the year before, so Grandmother Ruth lived alone in a small white house on Orchard Lane. Her kitchen smelled like butter, onions, and the cinnamon candies she kept in a glass jar near the telephone. Ruth was my father's mother. She was also the only person in the family who looked directly at uncomfortable things. That afternoon, Lauren and I were setting the table. She dropped one of Ruth's blue china plates. It split into 4 pieces on the floor. My mother rushed in. Lauren immediately pointed at me. Elise bumped me. I had been standing on the other side of the table. My mother looked at the broken plate, then at me. "Why do you always bring trouble into a room?" I didn't touch her. Do not lie. I'm not. My father appeared in the doorway but did not come farther. Ruth walked in behind him. She looked at the distance between me and Lauren. She looked at the chair between us. Then she bent down and picked up one piece of china. "Elise could not have reached her from there," she said. My mother's face changed, only slightly. "That is not the point. It seems to be the exact point." Ruth's voice was quiet. She never needed to raise it. My mother folded her arms. "You always defend her." Ruth placed the piece of plate on the counter. "I defend whoever is telling the truth." No one spoke for 6 seconds. I counted. Then Ruth asked Lauren what happened. Lauren began to cry. My mother pulled her close before she answered. The plate had cost $12 when Ruth bought the set in 1974. She told me that later while we washed dishes. "It was a plate," she said. "People are worth more than plates." I dried my hands on a yellow towel. "Mom thinks I break things." Ruth looked at me for a long moment. "Your mother thinks in pictures. When the real thing does not match the picture, she blames the real thing." I did not understand all of that at 8. I understood the way Ruth touched my shoulder, not as if she were checking whether I belonged there, as if she already knew. Ruth noticed details other people dismissed. She knew I hated the skin that formed on warm milk. She knew I read the last page of books first when I was worried about the ending. She knew I counted. Once, when I was 10, she asked why. We were walking through the Bellwether Farmers Market. It was a cold Saturday in March. The flower stands were selling daffodils for $5 a bunch, though snow still sat in dirty piles near the curb. "I don't know," I said. She bought a bunch of daffodils and handed them to me. "Try." I counted the stems. 9. "When people stop talking," I said, "I count until they start again." "Why?" "So I know how long it lasts." Ruth nodded as if that made perfect sense. "Does knowing help?" "A little." She took my hand. "Then count. But remember that silence does not always belong to the strongest person in the room." At home, my mother put the daffodils in a vase and placed them on the table. "Yellow does not work in here," she said. The next morning, they were gone. Ruth did not ask about them. She simply brought me another bunch the following week. That was how she loved people. She noticed what had been removed and returned it without making a speech. My parents' rules changed, depending on which daughter was standing in front of them. When I was 12, I wanted to join the school photography club. The fee was $65 for the year. My mother said it was too expensive. 2 weeks later, she paid $340 for Lauren to join a competitive dance team. "Dance requires discipline," she explained. "So does photography. Do not compare yourself to your sister." That sentence appeared often. Do not compare yourself to your sister when Lauren received a new bicycle and I got her old one. Do not compare yourself to your sister when she attended a summer arts camp and I stayed home. Do not compare yourself to your sister when my mother took her shopping for a formal dress and told me to wear something from my closet. The comparison was always happening. I was simply not allowed to name it. At 14, I found an envelope in the mail with my name on it. The handwriting was unfamiliar. The postmark came from Rosebridge, 2 states away. I held it for less than a minute. My mother entered the kitchen and stopped when she saw it. "Where did you get that?" "It was in the mailbox." She took it from my hand. "It has my name on it. It is probably from an adoption charity." "Can I open it?" "No." "Why?" Her eyes hardened. "Because I said no." She carried the envelope into her office and closed the door. I stood in the kitchen counting the square tiles between the refrigerator and the hallway. 14 across, 9 down. The envelope disappeared. Years later, when I asked about it, my mother said she did not remember. My mother remembered the names of women who wore the wrong shoes to weddings. She remembered which neighbor failed to send a thank you card in 2006. She remembered that I spilled grape juice on a sofa cushion when I was 7. But she did not remember an envelope addressed to me. That was the first time I understood that forgetting could be a choice. School gave me places to disappear that were not painful. I liked classrooms before other students arrived. I liked the smell of pencil shavings and floor cleaner. I liked instructions that did not change halfway through the task. Measure the line, label the diagram, show your work. Buildings made sense to me before people did. In 9th grade, my art teacher, Mr. Valen, assigned us to draw a room from memory. Most students drew bedrooms or kitchens. I drew Ruth's back porch. The porch leaned slightly to the left because the foundation had settled. One railing post was newer than the others. The roof line dipped near the gutter. I drew each flaw. Mr. Valen studied it. "You see structure," he said. I thought he was criticizing me. "I can redo it." "Why?" "The lines aren't straight. The porch isn't straight." He tapped the paper. "That is why this works." I carried that drawing home in a cardboard folder. My mother looked at it while she stood at the kitchen counter opening bills. "It looks old." "It is old. You should draw something prettier." Ruth framed it. She hung it over her desk. When I visited, she sometimes caught me looking at it. "You drew the truth," she said. "That ages better than pretty." By high school, my family had settled into clear roles. Lauren was bright, social, and fragile whenever she was expected to face consequences. My mother was the person who protected her from those consequences. My father paid for whatever remained. I was useful. I drove Lauren to dance practice after I got my license. I edited her essays. I covered for her when she came home late. I worked Saturdays at Morrow's Hardware and Utz paid for my own school clothes. My mother called this independence. Ruth called it neglect with good branding. She said it once while we were sitting in her backyard. I nearly laughed lemonade through my nose. Grandma? What? You cannot say things like that. I am 72. I can say most things now. Then she looked toward the house. You should know the difference, Elise. Being capable does not mean people are entitled to leave you carrying everything. I was 17 the first time my parents used college money as proof of love. I had been accepted into the architecture program at North Halden University. The tuition was $22,000 a year after my scholarship. Lauren was 15 then. She had already decided she wanted a car for her 16th birthday. My parents called me into the living room on a Sunday evening. The television was off. That was how I knew the conversation had been planned. My mother sat with her hands folded in her lap. My father held a printed page from the university. We cannot justify this cost, he said. I got a scholarship. It still leaves a large balance. I can work. You can attend Bellwether Community College for 2 years, my mother said. There is no shame in being practical. I looked at my father. He avoided my eyes. What happened to the college account? My parents had mentioned it for years. They told relatives they had started saving when they adopted me. My mother's fingers tightened. Circumstances changed. What circumstances? We are buying Lauren a safe car. The car was a new white crossover that cost $28,600. I knew because the dealer left the price sheet on our kitchen counter. You're using my college money for Lauren's car? My mother's expression became wounded. It is family money. Then why isn't my education a family expense? Do not be selfish. There it was, the word she used whenever I noticed an imbalance. Selfish. I stood still. My father finally looked at me. The community college has strong programs. It doesn't have architecture. You can study something else. My mother leaned forward. You have always had unrealistic ideas about yourself. That sentence landed differently from the others. Not louder, deeper. I counted the brass nail heads around the edge of the armchair beside her. 24. Ruth said she would help me, I said. My mother's face became flat. You discussed our finances with her? No. She asked about school. You had no right to embarrass us. I didn't. You always find a way to make us look like we have failed you. My father rubbed one hand over his jaw. Elise, let it go. I did. In that room. Not forever. Ruth paid the remaining tuition for my first year. I worked 25 hours a week and earned another scholarship for the second. By the third year, I had a paid internship with a restoration firm in City. My parents told people they had put me through university. I heard my mother say it at a Christmas party. We made sacrifices for both girls, she told a woman from her book club. That is what parents do. I was standing 6 feet away with a tray of drinks. I did not correct her. At 20, I still believed silence could earn peace. It earned something else. Practice. If you have ever watched someone rewrite your life while you were standing close enough to hear it, you know the strange anger that arrives without heat. Comment the word truth if you have had to hold on to your own version of events. Stay with me, because the lies in my family did not remain small, and the first real clue was already waiting inside a locked box. University was the first place where no one knew I was adopted. No one knew Lauren was the favorite. No one knew my mother could make a room feel warm to every person except me. I became simply Elise. I lived in a narrow apartment above a laundromat on Westbriar Avenue with 2 roommates and a radiator that knocked through the night. My share of the rent was $475 a month. The front window faced a brick wall, but if I leaned out far enough, I could see one strip of sky. I loved it. Nothing in that apartment matched. The plates came from 3 different thrift stores. The sofa was green, the rug was orange, and the kitchen table tilted unless we folded a piece of cardboard under one leg. It felt more like home than Linden Street ever had. People asked before borrowing my things. They apologized when they hurt me. They saved me a seat. Those were small acts. I did not know how rare they had been until they became normal. My first roommate, Jenna, once left a bowl of soup outside my bedroom because I had the flu. I cried when I found it. Not because I was sick, because she had noticed. At university, I learned how old buildings held the marks of every person who had tried to change them. A doorway could show where a wall once stood. A floorboard could reveal years of footsteps. Paint came away in layers, each color proving the room had lived another life. I liked restoration because the truth remained even when someone covered it. You only needed patience and the right tools. After graduation, I joined Barlow Finch Restoration, a 12-person firm in Greyhaven. We worked on libraries, old schools, theaters, and houses that wealthy people bought after deciding they wanted character. My starting salary was $48,000. My mother told me not to get comfortable. Those little specialty companies close all the time. I had not asked for her opinion. I had made the mistake of sharing good news. Lauren attended the same university for 1 year, though not the same program. She left after failing 3 classes and told everyone the school had not supported her creative process. My parents paid the remaining leaso in her apartment. They also paid for a 6-month branding course that cost $9,000. Lauren returned to Bellwether and started a lifestyle business called Lark House. She sold candles, linen napkins, and imported ceramic bowls online. My mother bought the first 100 candles. My father stored the boxes in his garage. When local customers complained that orders took months to arrive, Lauren said she was experiencing scaling challenges. My mother called her an entrepreneur. I spent my days standing inside buildings with damaged roofs and sinking floors. I inspected brickwork, negotiated with contractors, and studied old municipal records. Within 3 years, I became the youngest project lead at the firm. My parents called it decorating. At a family dinner, my uncle asked what I did. Before I could answer, my mother smiled. She helps people choose what to keep in old houses. I looked at her. That is not what I do. She gave a small laugh. Elise dislikes simple descriptions. Lauren checked her phone. My father changed the subject. I could have listed the projects I managed. I could have explained that I had helped save the Greyhaven Lyric Theater after a developer planned to tear it down. I could have mentioned the structural report I wrote or the public hearing where I answered questions for 2 hours. Instead, I ate my potatoes. Fine. Not warm, just fine. That was the word my mother used for anything she did not want to praise. My apartment was fine. My job was fine. My clothes were fine. My life was fine. Lauren's life was always exciting, promising, or misunderstood. The Lyric Theater project changed my career. The building had opened in 1922 and closed after a water pipe burst behind the stage. The city planned to sell it for less than the land value. I found evidence that the original support walls were stronger than the first inspection suggested. I also found a hidden ceiling above the damaged plaster. The restoration took 18 months and cost $4.2 million. When the theater reopened, the mayor thanked our firm. My name appeared on a bronze plaque near the lobby stairs. I invited my parents. They said they would try to attend. Lauren had scheduled a product photo shoot that evening, and my mother promised to help. My father texted 20 minutes before the doors opened. Sorry. Family obligation. Proud of you. I read the message twice. Then I put my phone away. Ruth attended in a blue wool coat and shoes that hurt her feet. She was 78. She walked slowly by then, but she stood in front of the plaque for several minutes. You kept the building honest, she said. I repaired it. No. Repairs can hide damage. You showed what survived. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded paper. It was the drawing I had made of her porch in 9th grade. She had removed it from the frame. I want you to keep this now. Why? Because you are old enough to understand. And what you drew. The paper had faded around the edges. My pencil lines still showed the leaning porch and uneven railing. I held it carefully. Thank you. Ruth looked around the theater lobby. People moved beneath the restored gold ceiling. Music came from the balcony. Do your parents know what you did here? I invited them. That was not my question. I did not answer. She touched the plaque with one finger. One day, Elise, they are going to discover that underestimating someone does not keep that person small. It only keeps the truth away from them. I smiled. You always make everything sound important. Most things are important to someone. She turned toward me. And some things are important whether people admit it or not. Ruth was slowing down, though none of us wanted to name it. Her hands shook when she lifted a cup. She forgot where she placed her glasses. She began writing reminders on square pieces of paper and leaving them near the telephone. Call pharmacy. Waterfern. Ask Elise about roof. The last one made me laugh. Her porch roof had leaked for years. My father kept promising to repair it, but never found the time. One Saturday in April, I arrived with 2 contractors from my firm and replaced the damaged section. Ruth protested about the cost. It is $680, I said. That is too much. You paid for university. That was different. It was more expensive. You were an investment. So is a dry porch. She watched us work from the kitchen window. Afterward, we sat outside beneath the repaired roof while rain moved across the yard. She gave me tea in a chipped cup. Your mother called me yesterday, she said. I waited. She asked whether I had changed my will. My hand stopped around the cup. Why? She did not say. Did you? Ruth looked toward the garden. Yes. I did not ask what she had changed. Money had a way of turning ordinary family tension into something harder. I wanted no part of it. Ruth glanced at me. You are not curious? It is your money. Your mother is curious enough for both of you. That sounds like her. Ruth smiled, but it faded quickly. She believes everything in a family should travel through the proper bloodline. The rain struck the roof above us, steady, even. I counted 5 drops falling from the edge of the gutter before I spoke. Did she say that? Not in those words. She rarely does. Ruth studied me. You understand her very well. I had practice. Understanding a person is not the same as excusing them. I know. Do you? I looked into my tea. Ruth leaned back in her chair. There are things about your adoption I should have told you sooner. The sentence made the air feel thinner. What things? She pressed her lips together. I do not have every answer. What do you have? Enough to know that the story you were given was incomplete. My first thought was the envelope from Rosebridge. I had not thought about it in years. What does that mean? Ruth looked toward the kitchen window as if someone might be standing inside the empty house. It means your mother was afraid of losing you. That answer sounded almost kind. Then Ruth added, and frightened people sometimes do unforgivable things while calling them protection. I set down my cup. What did she do? I need to show you something. She tried to stand. Her knee gave slightly, and I caught her arm. I can get it. No. You do not know where it is. We walked into the house slowly. Ruth led me past the kitchen and into the small room she used as an office. The drawing of her porch was gone from the wall. A pale rectangle remained where the frame had protected the paint from sunlight. She opened the bottom drawer of her desk. Inside were tax records, old bank statements, and a red address book held together with tape. She moved them aside and removed a small white envelope. My name was written on the front, not in her handwriting. The letters leaned sharply to the right, the same way they did inside my baby book. I touched the envelope. Who wrote this? I cannot tell you yet. Why? Because I made a promise when you were small. To Mom? No. The answer came quickly. Then to who? Ruth closed the drawer. Elise, listen to me. There is a difference between keeping a confidence and protecting a lie. I thought I was doing the first. For too long, I helped with the second. I stared at the envelope. Can I open it? Not today. Anger rose inside me, but it was quiet anger, the kind that sharpened things. You just told me my life is incomplete, showed me a letter with my name on it, and now you are telling me I cannot read it. I know. That is not fair. No. Then give it to me. Ruth held the envelope against her chest. If I give you this one letter without the rest, your mother will explain it away. She will say it was confusion. She will make you question the page in your own hand. She already does that. I know. Then stop helping her. Ruth closed her eyes. For a moment, she looked older than 78. When she opened them, there were tears there. I am trying. I had seen Ruth cry only once before, at my grandfather's funeral. It changed my anger, not into forgiveness, into attention. What else is there? I asked. Letters, records, a copy of an agreement, notes I made after conversations with your father. My father knows? He knows part of it. What part? Enough. That hurt more than I expected. My father had always behaved as if he were standing outside my mother's decisions. If he knew something about my adoption, he had not been standing outside anything. He had chosen a place. Ruth took my hand. I need time to arrange this properly. How much time? A few weeks? Why not now? Because truth is not useful when it arrives without protection. I'm not a child. No, that is why I am finally doing this. She placed the envelope back in the drawer. Then she removed a small brass key from her pocket. It was old and dark around the edges. A thin metal tag hung from it with the number 204 stamped on one side. She held it in her palm. This opens a safe deposit box at Bellwether Mutual. I stared at it. What is inside? Everything I could preserve. Why are you showing me the key if you're not giving it to me? So you know it exists. She closed her fingers around it. And so you know I am not asking you to trust only my memory. That was Ruth. She understood that love without evidence would not be enough against my mother. What agreement? I asked. Ruth sat behind the desk. When you came to your parents, there were conditions. What kind of conditions? I do not know all of them. You said there was a copy. There is. Then you know. I know what the paper says. I do not know what happened around it. I leaned against the desk because my legs felt unsteady. Was I adopted legally? Yes. Did someone try to get me back? Ruth's face changed. It was only a small movement around her mouth, but I saw it. Someone tried to remain in your life. The room became very still. Who? Ruth looked at the drawer. I want the documents to answer that. Why won't you? Because if I say the name, you will go home and ask your mother. Yes. And she will destroy whatever remains. I thought of the envelope from Rosebridge disappearing into my mother's office. Has she destroyed things before? Ruth did not respond. That was an answer. I counted the drawer handles on the desk. 6. The window panes. 8. The books on the top shelf. 23. Does Lauren know? No. Does Dad? Not about the box. Does Mom? She knows I kept records. She does not know where. I looked again at the drawer. Why did you wait? Ruth folded her hands. Because I believed your parents would eventually tell you themselves. Then I believed you should finish school first. Then I believed you needed to be settled in your work. Every delay sounded reasonable when I made it. And now? Now I know delay can become cooperation. She pushed herself up from the chair and walked to me. I am sorry. The words were simple. No explanation around them. No demand that I make her feel better. I believed her. That did not make the waiting right. It only made it different. When will you give me the key? After I meet with my attorney next Thursday. Why an attorney? Because some of what is in the box connects to my estate. Some connects to yours. My estate? Your history. She corrected herself too quickly. I noticed. What connects to me? Ruth looked tired. Let me do this carefully. You keep saying that. Because I did it carelessly for too long. I wanted to take the key from her hand. I did not. Ruth had been the only adult who defended me when there was no reward for doing it. If she was afraid, I needed to understand why. All right, I said. 1 week. 1 week. She closed her fingers around the key. I left her house at 4:27 in the afternoon. I remember because I looked at the clock above the stove. Rain still covered the road. The porch roof did not leak. At home, I opened the old blue baby book for the first time in years. I compared the handwriting on the first page to my memory of the envelope in Ruth's office. The slant was the same. The pencil marks were faint, but I could see where someone had pressed hard enough to leave grooves in the paper. Elise Mara, my middle name. I had always assumed it was simply a name my parents liked. That night, I called my father. He answered after 4 rings. Everything okay? Where did my middle name come from? There was a pause. 3 seconds, then 4. Your mother chose it. Why? I don't know. You never asked? It was a long time ago. Did someone else choose it first? His breathing changed. Elise, what is this about? Grandma showed me a letter. The silence lasted 7 seconds. What letter? She didn't let me read it. He exhaled. Your grandmother is getting older. The sentence made me sit straighter. She knows exactly what she showed me. I'm not saying she doesn't. You just did. I'm saying memories get mixed up. Was someone named Mara connected to me before the adoption? My father said nothing. Dad? You need to speak with your mother. I'm speaking with you. This is not a conversation for the phone. Then I'll come over. No. The word came too fast. I stood near my apartment window looking at the brick wall outside. Why not? Your mother has had a difficult week. What does her week have to do with my adoption? Elise. What did she do? I don't know what Ruth told you. She told me there are records. His voice became lower. Do not push your grandmother into something she cannot handle. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because the sentence was so familiar. The person holding the truth was always treated as the danger. Does Mom know Grandma has a safe deposit box? My father stopped breathing for 1 second. That was enough. She showed you a key? I did not answer. Elise, listen to me. Do not take anything from that box until we have talked. We? Your mother and me. Why? Because you may misunderstand what you see. There it was again, the warning that my own eyes could not be trusted. What is in the box? I don't know. You just told me not to take anything from it. I'm trying to keep this from becoming a bigger problem. It was already a problem. I just didn't know. My father sighed. You always do this. Do what? Turn things into accusations. I asked where my middle name came from. And now you are talking about a bank box. Because you are afraid of it. I am not afraid. Then tell me the truth. Another silence. 5 seconds. I have to go. He ended the call. The next morning, my mother called at 7:12. I watched her name flash across my phone until the call stopped. She called again at 7:14, then at 7:17, 3 missed calls. At 7:21, she sent a message. Your grandmother is confused. Do not upset her with old questions. At 7:26, another. We gave you a wonderful life. Please remember that before you judge decisions you cannot understand. I read the second message several times. She had not asked what Ruth told me. She already knew enough. I typed a response. What decisions? I watched the small dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, she sent 6 words. This is not about you alone. That sentence stayed with me. Adoption had always been presented as something done for me. A rescue. A gift. A wonderful life I was expected to repay through permanent gratitude. Now my mother was telling me the truth involved other people. People whose names had been removed from my baby book. People who may have written letters. People my mother had decided I was better off forgetting. If you know the feeling of finding one small key that opens a much larger question, comment key. Sometimes the object is tiny. The locked history behind it is not. Subscribe and stay, because the person who had protected me all my life was about to make one final decision, and my mother was already moving to stop her. I drove to Ruth's house after work that evening. Her car was in the driveway. The porch light was on. I knocked twice, then used the spare key she kept beneath a ceramic bird near the side door. "Grandma?" No answer. I found her in the office, sitting at the desk with the red address book open in front of her. She looked up. "You should not sneak into old women's houses. You gave me the spare key. That does not remove the need for drama." I closed the door behind me. "Mom knows." I assumed she would. "Dad told me not to touch anything in the box." Ruth's expression hardened. "He knows about the key?" I told him. "You should not have. You showed it to me and then sent me home without answers." "That is fair." She closed the address book. "Did your mother call?" "3 times." "What did she say?" I handed her my phone. Ruth read the messages. Her mouth tightened at the words, "Wonderful life." "She always turns care into debt," she said. "What does 'this is not about you alone' mean?" Ruth placed the phone on the desk. "It means she is frightened that other people will have a voice." "Which people?" "The ones she kept away." The room seemed colder than it had the day before. "Is my biological mother alive?" Ruth looked at me. "Yes." The word entered quietly. Nothing in the room changed, but everything had moved. "Do you know her?" "I met her twice." "When?" "The first time was shortly after you came to your parents'. The second was when you were 5. 5. The yellow kitchen. The birthday cake without my name. The photograph on the stairs. Why did she meet you?" "She wanted to see that you were safe." "Did she see me?" "No." "Why not?" "Your mother would not allow it." I pressed both hands against the edge of the desk. "What was her name?" Ruth looked down. "Her first name was Mara. My middle name, the word written in the baby book, the name my father claimed my mother chose." "What was her last name?" "I will give you the records." "When?" Ruth reached into the pocket of her cardigan. She removed the brass key. "Now." I stared at it in her palm. "You said next Thursday." I moved the appointment. "With your attorney?" "Yes." "What changed?" "Your mother called me this morning." "What did she say?" "She reminded me that family peace depended on leaving the past alone." Ruth's voice remained calm. "She also suggested I was becoming forgetful and that your father might need to help manage my accounts." I felt something cold move through me. "She threatened to take control of your money?" She implied concern. "That is worse." "Yes." Ruth held the key toward me. "I met my attorney at 2:00. The instructions are complete." I took it. The brass was warm from her hand. The number 214 faced upward. "What instructions?" "If anything happens to me, the contents of that box belong to you." "What do you mean, if anything happens?" "I am old, Elise." "You are 78. That is an age people call young only after someone dies. Do not say that." "Then listen while I can say it." Her tone was firm. I closed my fingers around the key. Ruth opened the desk drawer and removed the white envelope with my name on it. This time, she gave it to me. "You may read this tonight," she said. "The rest stays in the box until you meet my attorney." "Why?" "Because the letter explains the heart. The documents explain the harm." I looked at the handwriting. "Did Mara write this?" "Yes." "When?" "When you were 4. I turned it over. The envelope had been opened and sealed again with clear tape. "Who opened it?" "Your mother." A pressure built behind my ribs. "How did you get it?" "I found it in the trash at your house." The room went silent. I counted without meaning to. 1, 2, 3, 4. She threw it away? Yes. How many letters were there? I do not know exactly. How many did you save? 7. My fingers tightened around the envelope. And the hers? I believe she destroyed them. I stared at the name on the front. My name, written by someone who knew it before I could read. Why didn't you give these to me when I turned 18? I should have. Why didn't you? Because your father asked me to wait. That answer hurt in a clean, exact place. What did he say? He said you were finally doing well. He said the truth would distract you from university. He promised they would tell you after graduation. They didn't. No. And you kept waiting. Yes. I looked at Ruth. She did not defend herself. That made it harder to stay angry with her and easier to understand the size of what had happened. Everyone had believed they could decide when I was ready for my own life. My mother through control. My father through delay. Ruth through protection. Different reasons, same locked door. What is in the safe deposit box? I asked. Copies of the letters. Your original intake record. Notes from the adoption agency. A financial agreement signed before your placement. A copy of a trust document. My journal entries from that time. And a photograph. What photograph? Your mother before this family. Mara? Yes. Why is there a financial agreement? Ruth looked toward the window. That is the part your parents never expected you to find. I waited. She did not continue. Tell me. The adoption was legal, she said. But your placement was not as simple as they told you. There was money attached to your care. What does that mean? It means someone provided funds for you. Who? Your biological grandfather. I felt the room tilt, though I knew it had not. How much? I do not know the full amount. You have the agreement. The agreement lists an initial payment and future protections. How much was the initial payment? Ruth's eyes met mine. $180,000. I laughed once, a small sound. It did not feel like mine. My parents were paid to adopt me? No, not exactly. What would you call it? The money was meant for your housing, education, medical care, and future. My parents used my college account to buy Lauren a car. I know. How? Your father told me after I confronted him. When? The week before I offered to pay your tuition. I set the envelope on the desk. You knew the money existed. I knew some had existed. I did not know what remained. Did they spend it? I believe much of it was moved. Into what? The house, your father's business investments, Lauren's expenses. My mind moved through years of numbers, dance fees, the white crossover, the branding course, the new kitchen when I was 16. My mother's claim that the college account belonged to the family. It had not been family money. It had been mine. Not because I had earned it, because someone who loved me had tried to make sure I was safe. This is why Mom asked whether you changed your will. Partly. What is the other part? Ruth's hand rested on the desk. I changed my will after discovering your parents may have used documents connected to your funds as support for a loan. Documents with my name? Yes. Did I sign them? Not knowingly. The sentence settled between us. I looked at the envelope again. This sounds illegal. It may be. Why haven't you reported it? Because I needed proof. And now? Now my attorney has it. I picked up the envelope. Does Mom know that? No. Does Dad? No. I thought of my mother calling Ruth forgetful, my father telling me not to touch the box. They did not know what Ruth had already done. For the first time, I understood that their fear was not only about the past. It was about paper. Paper they could not soften with a smile. Paper that did not care which daughter was more lovable. Ruth reached across the desk and placed her hand over mine. This is not revenge, she said. It is a record. You do not have to use every truth as a weapon, but no one should be able to use your missing history against you. I nodded. What do I do now? Read the letter. And after that, meet the attorney. When? Tomorrow at 10. I have work. I know. You already made the appointment? Yes. What if I said no? I would call and cancel. You knew I wouldn't. I hoped you had stopped protecting people who never protected you. I looked at her. That is not easy. No. Did it become easy for you? Ruth's eyes moved to the empty place on the wall where my drawing had hung. No. I simply ran out of time to confuse easy with right. I left her house carrying the envelope and the brass key. The rain had stopped. The air smelled like wet soil and cold pavement. I sat in my car but did not start the engine. For 12 minutes, I held the letter. Then I opened it. The paper inside was thin and covered on both sides. The first line was written in the same slanted hand. My sweet Elise, I hope one day someone lets you know that I did not leave because I stopped loving you. I stopped reading. Across the street, water dropped from the branch of a maple tree onto the roof of my car. Once. Then again. I pressed the page against the steering wheel and closed my eyes. For most of my life, my mother had told me I came from people who had not wanted me. She had never said it in one direct sentence. That would have sounded cruel. She said they could not care for you. She said some people make choices and move on. She said we are the family who stayed. Every version placed her at the center of my rescue. But the letter in my hands had been written by someone who had searched for me, someone who had sent at least 7 letters, someone whose name had been placed beside mine before my parents erased it. I started reading again. Mara wrote that she had been 19 when I was disowned. Her father was ill. My biological father had left before my birth. She had accepted a temporary guardianship arrangement while she completed a nursing program and found stable housing. Temporary. That word appeared 4 times. She wrote that the arrangement had changed without her full understanding. By the time she found legal help, my parents had begun the adoption process. She had agreed only after receiving promises in writing that she would receive yearly updates and that I would be told about her when I was old enough to ask. She had included photographs. She had sent birthday cards. She had called. My mother had returned some letters unopened. Others simply disappeared. Mara wrote that she did not want to disturb my life. She did not want to pull me between families. She wanted me to know that someone remembered the day I was born. Someone knew I had a pale mark near my left elbow. Someone knew I hated being wrapped tightly in blankets and calmed down when she hummed near my ear. I looked at my left arm. The mark was still there. Near the end of the letter, Mara wrote one sentence that I read 6 times. I have tried to respect the life they gave you, but I cannot respect a silence that teaches you I never came back. I lowered the page. Ruth's house stood behind me with one lamp glowing in the front room. The brass key rested in my palm. Small, dark around the edges. Heavy enough to change the weight of my entire life. The next morning, I arrived at the law office 9 minutes early. The building stood across from Bellwether Mutual, a 3-story brick structure with narrow windows and a brass plaque near the door. Winslow, Price Hale. The letters had darkened around the edges from years of rain. Ruth was already inside. She sat in the reception area wearing a gray coat and holding her purse with both hands. Beside her was a man in his early 60s with silver hair, square glasses, and a dark blue tie. He stood when I entered. Elise Mercer? Yes. I'm Thomas Hale. We shook hands. His grip was firm without becoming a performance. I have represented your grandmother for 23 years, he said. She has given me permission to discuss several private matters with you. I looked at Ruth. She nodded. Thomas led us into a conference room with a long wooden table and 4 chairs. A pitcher of water sat on a tray near the window. 3 yellow legal pads had been arranged in a neat row. I noticed the details because I did not know what else to do with my eyes. Thomas closed the door. Before we begin, he said, I want to make something clear. I have reviewed documents that may raise serious questions about how funds intended for you were handled. I am not here to tell you what conclusions to reach. I am here to show you what exists and explain what can be verified. Are my parents under investigation? No. Should they be? That depends on what. Let the full record show. Ruth placed one hand on the table. Thomas. He looked at her. She has waited long enough. He nodded once. Then he opened a black leather folder. The first document he placed in front of me was a copy of my original temporary guardianship agreement. My name appeared at the top. Elise Mara Vale. I stared at the last name. Vale. Mara Vale. The date was May 14th, 28 years earlier. I had been 3 years old. The agreement named my mother as Mara Elaine Vale. It named my father as unknown. My guardians were listed as Douglas and Celia Mercer. Temporary placement duration, 12 months. I read the line twice. Then again. It was supposed to last 1 year. Yes, Thomas said. What happened after that? The guardianship was extended twice. The adoption petition was filed during the second extension. Did Mara agree? She signed a consent form. I looked at him. That sounds clear. It would be, except the consent form was signed under conditions described in a separate document. He placed another paper beside the first. The separate agreement stated that Mara would receive annual updates and photographs until I turned 18. It also stated that when I reached the age of 12, my adoptive parents would tell me her identity and provide a means for supervised written contact if I wished. I reached 12 without hearing her name. I reached 18 without seeing a photograph. I reached 31 believing she had left and forgotten me. Was this legally enforceable? I asked. Thomas adjusted his glasses. Contact agreements from that time were not always treated the way they are now. Some were difficult to enforce, but the document still matters because it proves what was promised and what your parents knew. Who wrote it? An attorney representing your biological grandfather. The next page contained a signature. Alden Vale, my grandfather. I traced the letters with one finger without touching the ink. Thomas continued. Mr. Vale established a fund for your benefit before the adoption was finalized. The purpose was to guarantee stable housing, education, medical care, and a protected reserve for you at adulthood. How much was in it? At the beginning, $225,000. Ruth had told me $180,000. I looked at her. That was the amount released directly to your parents, she said. I did not know the full amount until Thomas found the original schedule. What happened to the rest? Thomas turned to another page. $45,000 was placed in a restricted account intended to become available to you at 25. I never received it. No. Where is it? We are trying to determine that. The paper beneath his hand showed a list of transfers. The first was made 9 months after the adoption. $35,000. The second came 2 years later. $20,000, though. In 15, then 40. The amounts grew smaller after that. The descriptions were vague. Housing adjustment, educational provision, medical reserve, family stability, disbursement. The payments stopped when I was 16. What does family stability mean? I asked. Thomas looked at Ruth. Ruth answered. It meant whatever your parents said it meant. My mother renovated the kitchen when I was 16. Ruth closed her eyes briefly. The timing matches. I remembered the white cabinets, the stone counters, the new steel appliances. My mother had held a party when it was finished. She told everyone my father had received a bonus. What records do you have from my parents? I asked. Very few, Thomas said. The trust required yearly accounting, but after Alden Vale died, enforcement became inconsistent. When did he die? When you were 9. I tried to imagine a man who had arranged money for me, then died while I was still learning multiplication. Did he ever see me? We found no evidence that he did after the placement. Did he try? Yes. The answer came from Ruth. I turned to her. How do you know? He came to the house once. What house? Linden Street. I stared at her. When? You were 4. Was I there? Yes. What happened? Your mother would not let him inside. I saw the hallway in my mind, the white frames, the silver mail tray, the small front window beside the door. Where was I? In the living room. Did I see him? I don't know. Were you there? Yes. Why? Your father called me because Celia was upset. What did Alden want? To give you a birthday gift and speak with your parents about the contact agreement. What did Mom do? She threatened to call the police. A small pressure formed behind my eyes. What did Dad do? He stood beside her. Not behind, not in another room. Beside her. What did Alden say? Ruth looked toward the window. He said he did not want to fight. He asked them to remember that promises made around a child still belong to the child. The sentence sounded too precise to be an old memory. You wrote it down? Yes. Where? In the journal inside the box. What birthday gift? A wooden music box. I felt something move through my memory. A tune. A painted moon. A small brass latch. I had owned a music box when I was little. It had disappeared before I started school. My mother told me I must have broken it. It was blue, I said. Ruth looked at me. Yes. With stars on the lid? Yes. I remember it. My voice sounded far away. What happened to it? I don't know. I knew. Or at least I knew enough. My mother removed objects the way she removed people. Quietly. Then she behaved as if they had never existed. Thomas let the silence remain for a moment. Then he placed a photograph in front of me. It showed a young woman sitting on a hospital bed. She had dark hair tied back loosely and tired eyes that looked directly at the camera. In her arms was a newborn wrapped in a pale green blanket. Me. Mara was smiling. Not widely. The smile looked fragile, as if someone had warned her happiness could attract attention. I studied her face. My face. The shape of her eyebrows was mine. So was the small line between them when she concentrated. Behind her stood an older man with one hand on her shoulder. Alden. He wore a brown jacket and looked exhausted. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, Mara and Elise. November 3rd. She has her mother's eyes and her grandfather's stubborn mouth. I read the sentence again. Who wrote this? Mara, Thomas said. I touched the corner of the photograph. My mother had never told me what time I was born. She claimed the records were incomplete. The hospital name appeared on a form in the folder. St. Anne's Medical Center. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, 20 inches. Born at 4:16 in the morning. Ordinary facts. They felt enormous. Does Mara know I'm seeing this? I asked. No, Thomas said. Does she know where I am? She knew where you lived until you turned 18. After that, she lost track of you. How? Your parents returned her letters. Your father changed jobs. You moved for university. She continued searching through legal channels, but the adoption records were sealed. Did she hire anyone? Yes. How many times? 4 that we know of. 4? Thomas opened another folder. Once when you were 12, again when you were 18, then at 25. Most recently, last year. Last year. While I was inspecting roof beams and arguing with a contractor about lime mortar, a woman I had never met was paying someone to find me. What did the investigators learn? Not enough. Your parents had asked that your information remain private. The original records contained inconsistent spellings of Mara's surname. Your adult address changed several times. The last investigator found a professional listing for you, but could not confirm you were the correct Elise Mercer. Why didn't they contact me? Mara was afraid of approaching the wrong person and exposing private information. She was worried about my privacy. Yes. My mother had taken my letters in the name of protection. Mara had stayed away for the same reason. The difference sat plainly between them. One used protection to keep control. The other used it to accept pain. Thomas turned the photograph face down. There is more. He showed me a copy of Ruth's revised will. The language was formal, but the important parts were clear. Her house would be sold. A small amount would go to my father. Another amount would be placed in an education fund for any future grandchildren. The remainder would come to me. Lauren would receive $10,000 and several pieces of jewelry. My mother would receive nothing. I looked at Ruth. You changed the is because of the trust. Partly. Why leave Dad anything? Because he is my son. He helped hide this. Yes. Then why? Because punishment is not the same as correction. The words irritated me. He lied to me for 28 years. And I will not pretend otherwise. Ruth's voice stayed calm. But I am not using my death to perform anger. I am using what I have to repair what I can. Thomas folded his hands. Your grandmother has also assigned you control over the documents in the box. Those documents belong to you regardless of the estate. What about the $45,000? We have identified an account that may have held part of it. May have? The account was closed 11 years ago. By who? Your father. A dull ache settled behind my ribs. What did he use it for? We do not know yet. I thought of Lauren's car, the branding course, the years my mother said they could not afford to help me. Can you get the bank records? With your authorization and possibly a court order. What happens if I authorize it? We investigate. We request documents. If there is evidence of forgery or misuse, you decide whether to pursue recovery. Would they go to jail? That is not a question I can answer from what we have. I looked at Ruth. She watched me carefully. This was the moment people imagined when they talked about truth setting someone free. They rarely mentioned how truth first made every room feel unsafe. I need time, I said. Thomas nodded. You should take it. How much? As much as you need, but I recommend securing copies of everything today. Why? Because your parents now know you are asking questions. He did not have to say more. My mother was already trying to frame Ruth as confused. My father had already warned me away from the box. Can they get access to it? No. The box is in your grandmother's name, with you listed as the successor. Can they challenge her capacity? They can try. Ruth gave a dry laugh. Celia has been trying to declare everyone irrational since 1989. Thomas almost smiled. Then he looked at me again. I also need to ask whether you want help locating Mara. The question arrived before I was ready. I looked down at the photograph. Is she still in Rosebridge? We believe so. What does she do? She is a nurse. The word struck me. I had always hated hospitals, but I liked the order of medical charts, the clear labels, the way every event had to be recorded. Is she married? Yes. Children? 2. I had siblings. The information felt too large to hold beside everything else. A brother and a sister? Yes. Ages? 26 and 23. Do they know about me? Thomas paused. Yes. My eyes burned. What do they know? That Mara had a daughter before them, that you were adopted, that she searched for you. I had grown up beside a sister who treated me like an obstacle. Somewhere else, 2 people had grown up knowing I existed. Do they want to meet me? I cannot speak for them. Did they help search? The older one did. Which one? Your brother. I looked at the photograph again. What is his name? Evan. And my sister? Sophie. The names became real immediately. Too real. I stood and walked to the window. Across the street, people entered Bellwether Mutual through the revolving door. A delivery truck stopped at the curb. A woman in a red scarf hurried beneath an umbrella. Life continued with insulting ease. Behind me, Ruth said my name. I turned. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. You do not have to know. I'm angry. You should be. I'm angry at you too. I know. I love you. I know that too. The tears came before I could stop them. I pressed my fingers against my eyes. I don't know what to do with all of this. Ruth rose slowly and came toward me. She did not hug me immediately. She waited. That mattered. I stepped into her arms. For a few seconds, I was 8 years old again, standing beside a broken blue plate while someone finally looked at the distance between me and the accusation. Ruth held me. I am sorry, she said. Not for my mother, not for my father, for herself. I believed her again. At 11:15, Thomas accompanied us across the street to the bank. Bellwether Mutual smelled like carpet cleaner and old paper. The lobby had high ceilings, green marble counters, and a clock that ran 2 minutes slow. A bank officer named Miss Dalka led us downstairs. The safe deposit room was colder than the lobby. Metal boxes filled 3 walls. Each had a brass number fixed to the front. Ruth sat near the bottom. Ruth inserted one key. Miss Dalka inserted another. They turned them together. The box was longer than I expected and heavier than it looked. Miss Dalka carried it into a private room and left us alone. Ruth sat beside me. Thomas stood near the door. "Open it," she said. I lifted the lid. Inside were 7 envelopes tied with blue thread, a thick folder, a small red journal, copies of financial documents, a silver bracelet, and the wooden music box. The blue paint had faded. Tiny gold stars covered the lid. One corner was chipped. I touched the brass latch. "It still works," Ruth said. I opened it. A small figure turned beneath a painted moon. The tune was soft and uneven. I knew it. Not clearly. My body knew it before my mind did. A strange tightness moved into my throat. "I used to hold this," I said. "You carried it everywhere. Why did Mom throw it away? She said it upset you." "Did it?" "No." I closed the lid. Beneath the music box was a stack of birthday cards. Age 4, age 5, age 6. Each envelope had been addressed to me at Linden Street. Some were unopened. Others had been torn across the top. On my 6th birthday, on Saturday, Mara had drawn 6 small stars around my name. On my 10th, she wrote that she hoped I liked books. On my 12th, she included an address and asked me to write if I wanted. I had never known. The letters contained no demands, no accusations, no attempt to pull me away. They asked about school. They described ordinary things. Mara wrote about planting tomatoes, breaking a kitchen chair, working night shifts, and seeing a girl at a bus stop who had my hair. In one letter, she said she had remarried. In another, she told me Evan had been born. 3 years later, she introduced Sophie. She wrote that they would know my name. She wrote that there would always be a place for me in the story, even if I never entered the room. I stopped at that sentence. My mother collected matching frames. Mara saved a place in a story. The difference was almost unbearable. Thomas photographed every document. He made an inventory while Ruth and I read. Item 1, Original Guardianship Agreement. Item 2, Adoption Contact Agreement. Item 3, Trust Schedule. Trust. Item 4, Correspondence. Item 5, Journal. Item 6, Music Box. Item 7, Bracelet. The bracelet had my name engraved on the inside, Elise M. Vale. "Who gave me this?" I asked. "Alden," Ruth said. "It was too large for you then." I fastened it around my wrist. It fit. At the bottom of the box, we found a copy of a loan document. My father had used an account associated with the trust as collateral for a business loan when I was 19. The signature beside my name looked careful. Too careful. I had never signed it. The date fell during my 2nd year at university. On that exact day, I had been 600 miles away working a weekend shift in the campus library. "This is forged," I said. Thomas did not react emotionally. That appears likely. Can it be proven? We can compare signatures and establish your location. What was the loan for? Your father invested in a restaurant supply warehouse. He told us his company promoted him. The business failed after 3 years. How much? $110,000. My voice became flat. He risked money meant for me. Yes. Did Mom know? Her signature is on the spouse acknowledgement. Ruth turned away. I looked at the neat line of my mother's name. Celia Mercer. She had signed 8 days after telling me the family could not afford my university housing deposit. I had borrowed the money from Ruth. The room felt too small. I placed both hands on the table. This was not neglect. No, Thomas said. They chose this. Yes. They knew the money was mine. Yes. And when I asked where the college account went, they called me selfish. Thomas remained silent. Ruth stared at the music box. The truth did not arrive as one clean answer. It arrived in packets. A birthday card, a signature, a bank transfer. Each piece opened another room. Each room contained another version of my parents. By the time we left the bank, it was 1:43. I carried the music box in a canvas bag. Thomas kept certified copies of the records. The originals remained in the box except for the photograph, 1 letter, and the bracelet. Ruth and I ate lunch at a small cafe 2 blocks away. Neither of us had much appetite. She ordered tomato soup. I ordered coffee and toast. The bill was $18.40. I remembered because my mind still needed numbers. Are you going back to work? Ruth asked. No. Good. I don't know where I'm going. My house is open. I need to be alone. She nodded. Will you call me tonight? Yes. Even if you're angry? Yes. She stirred her soup. I should have fought harder. You did more than anyone else. That does not answer what I said. No. We sat quietly. Then Ruth said, Your mother loved having you when you were small. I looked at her. That is supposed to help? No. It is supposed to make the truth accurate. I waited. She wanted a child very badly. When the temporary placement became possible, she treated it like a miracle. Then Lauren was born. And I became temporary again. In her mind, perhaps. Why adopt me if she already felt that way? She did not want to lose what she had won. The word bothered me. Won? Yes. That is how she saw people? Sometimes. Ruth lifted her spoon. Your mother's love is real. It is simply mixed with ownership. That is not better. I did not say it was. My phone vibrated on the table. A message from my mother. Your father says you met with a lawyer. Call me immediately. I showed Ruth. How does Dad know? Thomas contacted his former business bank yesterday for preliminary records. So he knows we found the loan. Probably. Another message appeared. Do not let Ruth destroy this family because she is angry with me. Then another. There are details she never understood. I typed a response. I understand my signature. I did not send it. Not yet. Ruth watched me. What are you going to say? Nothing. Is that what you want? For now. Then say nothing. My mother called before we left the cafe. I let it ring. She called again while I drove home. Then my father. Then Lauren. 7 calls in 43 minutes. I counted each one. At home, I placed the music box on my kitchen table. My apartment was different by then from the one above the laundromat. I lived in a renovated carriage house in Greyhaven, a property I had bought 2 years earlier for $190,000. My family thought I rented it. I had not corrected them. The main room had exposed brick, old wooden beams, and windows I restored myself. The kitchen table was made from floorboards recovered from a demolished school. Nothing matched perfectly. Everything belonged. I set Mara's photograph beside the music box. Then I searched her name online, Mara Elaine Vale. The first result showed a staff page for Rosebridge Community Hospital. Mara Vale Dalton, registered nurse, patient services coordinator. The photograph was recent. She was 50. Her hair was shorter and threaded with gray. Her smile looked stronger than it had in the hospital picture, but her eyes were the same. My eyes. The page included a short biography. 25 years in nursing. Married. 3 children. I stared at the number. 3, not 2. 3 children. She counted me. I read the line again until the words blurred. A public biography had made space for me without naming me. My parents' hallway had removed my photograph. Mara's employer page counted me among her children. I closed the laptop and walked through the house. 14 steps from the kitchen to the stairs, 9 from the stairs to the front door, 11 from the front door to the window. I had designed the layout. I had measured every wall. Still, I counted. At 4:10, Lauren arrived. She did not knock softly. She hit the doorbell twice, then pounded with the side of her fist. I watched her through the glass for several seconds. She wore a tan coat, oversized sunglasses, and boots that had never touched dirt. When I opened the door, she pushed past me. "What did you do?" "No hello. No question about how I was." "What are you talking about?" "Dad's bank called him." "I didn't call the bank." "You called a lawyer." "Grandma did." Lauren removed her sunglasses. Her eyes were bright. "Mom is losing her mind." "That sounds difficult." "Do not do that calm voice with me. It is my regular voice. You know what I mean." She walked into the kitchen and stopped when she saw the music box. Her expression changed. "Where did you get that?" "You recognize it?" "No." She recognized it. I saw the answer before she spoke. "Mom said I broke it," I said. Lauren crossed her arms. "You probably did." "Then how is it here?" "Grandma keeps old junk." I touched the lid. "This belonged to me." "So?" "So Mom threw it away." "Maybe she had a reason. She always does." Lauren looked at the photograph. "Who is that?" "My biological mother." The words entered the room without drama. Lauren stared at the image. "You found her?" "I found a photograph." "Does Mom know?" "She knows the photograph existed." Lauren looked toward the front door as if she expected our mother to appear. This is exactly what she was afraid of. "What? You turning against us?" I laughed once. "Against you?" "Yes. You came here because Dad's bank called." "I came because the family is in crisis." "The family was not in crisis when my signature was forged." Lauren's face went still. "What signature? You don't know?" "No." I watched her. Lauren lied easily when she wanted something. Her lies usually arrived with too much detail. This time there was none. She too really did not know. "Dad used an account connected to my adoption as collateral for a loan. That doesn't make sense. It does on paper. Maybe you signed something and forgot. I was at university. You signed things during university." "Not that." Lauren picked up the photograph. I took it from her hand. "Do not touch that." She stared at me. "You're acting insane." "No, I am finally acting informed." "Mom and Dad raised you." "Yes." "They paid for everything." "Not everything." "What is that supposed to mean?" "There was money provided for my care." "How much?" I did not answer. Her eyes narrowed. "How much, Elise?" "Enough." "You think they adopted you for money?" "I didn't say that. You're implying it. I'm saying money meant for me was used for other things. Family things. My education was a family thing until you needed a car." The words landed. Lauren looked away. "That was years ago. The money was mine years ago, too. I didn't know." "I know." She turned back. "What do you want from us?" The question revealed more than she intended. Not what happened. Not are you okay. What do you want? As if truth was only dangerous when it arrived with a request. "I have not decided." "You're going to sue them." "I did not say that." "Then why the lawyer?" "To understand the documents. Mom says Grandma has always hated her." "Grandma kept the records Mom destroyed." "Mom did not destroy anything." "How would you know?" Lauren opened her mouth, closed it. I waited. Finally, she said, "She told me." When? This morning. So Mom discussed my adoption with you before she discussed it with me. That is not fair. It is exact. Lauren paced toward the window. You always twist everything. I have not twisted a single thing. You make us sound terrible. I have not told anyone anything. You told a lawyer. A lawyer who already had the documents. She says you're trying to take Grandma's house. I stared at her. What? Mom says Grandma changed her will because you manipulated her. I did not know she changed it until today. Who gets the house? It will be sold. And the money? I said nothing. Lauren's expression shifted. You. Most of it. She let out a breath. Of course. What does that mean? It means you always knew how to work Grandma. The sentence came from our mother. Same shape, same purpose. Turn care into manipulation whenever it flows toward me. I repaired her roof, I said. I visit her, I call her. I know what medicine she forgets on Thursdays. I know which grocery store carries the tea she likes. That is not working her. You think I don't love her? I think love requires attention. Lauren flinched. Good. Not because I wanted to hurt her. Because it was true. She looked at the music box again. Mom said you would do this. Do what? Us? Being adopted against us. I felt something inside me settle, not break, settle. Being adopted is not something I am doing to you. That is not what I meant. It is exactly what you meant. She grabbed her sunglasses from the table. You should call Mom. No. She deserves to explain. She had 28 years. You're being cruel. That word had always fascinated me. My mother could erase letters, spend money, and forge silence around my life. But refusing her immediate access to me was cruel. I need time, I said. Lauren moved toward the door. Dad could lose everything. Why? The loan issue. The bank. I don't know. If one question makes everything fall apart, it was already unstable. She opened the door. Then she turned back. You know, Mom was right about one thing. I waited. You never really wanted to be part of this family. The old wound tried to open. It did not. Maybe because the photograph sat on my kitchen table. Maybe because Mara had counted me among 3 children. Maybe because Lauren's sentence was too obviously inherited to be powerful. I looked at her calmly. I spent most of my life trying to earn a place you received without asking. Her mouth tightened. That is not my fault. No. I meant it. Lauren was favored, protected, and excused. She had benefited from my exclusion, but she had not designed the system. My mother had. My father maintained it. Lauren simply learned how to live inside it. You can leave now, I said. She did. The door closed behind her. I counted 7 seconds before her car started. Then I sat at the kitchen table and opened the next letter. The letters covered years in a voice that changed slowly. Mara's early writing was urgent. She underlined words. She asked for photographs. She apologized too often. Later, the writing became calmer, not less hopeful, more careful. She described Evan at 6, asking whether I liked dinosaurs. She described Sophie at 4, drawing a family picture with a person standing at the edge because she knew there was an older sister somewhere. At 12, Sophie wrote a note herself. Hi, Elise. I don't know if you will read this. Mom says you might someday. I am saving you the purple room when you visit, but Evan says you might not like purple, so we can change it. I pressed the note flat against the table. They had saved me a room, maybe only in imagination, maybe literally. It did not matter. They had imagined my arrival. At 7 that evening, I called Thomas. I want you to locate her. He did not ask who. I can do that. I don't know if I'm ready to meet. You do not have to decide today. I want to know if she still wants contact. I believe she does. I need to hear it from her. All right. And I want the bank records. There was a pause. That may change the situation with your parents. They changed it? When they signed my name. Yes. I do not want revenge. I understand. I want a record. That is exactly what we will build. After the call, I checked my phone. 23 messages. 9 from my mother, 5 from my father, 3 from Lauren. The rest came from relatives. Aunt Denise wrote, "Your mother says Ruth is confused and you are making financial demands. Please call me before this gets worse." My uncle wrote, "Family matters should stay inside the family." A cousin I had not spoken to in 2 years wrote, "Whatever happened, don't embarrass your parents publicly." No one asked what happened. They had received a story in which my questions were already an attack. My mother worked quickly, she always had. She rearranged the room until I was standing outside it. Then she told everyone I had left. I answered only Aunt Denise. "I have made no financial demand. I found documents involving my legal signature and adoption history. I am reviewing them with counsel. I will not discuss details yet." She responded 3 minutes later. "Your mom said you are threatening court." I wrote, "She is mistaken." That was all. I turned off my phone. The next morning, Thomas called at 8:32. We located Mara. My hand tightened around the coffee mug. "And?" She confirmed she wants contact. The room blurred slightly. "What did you tell her?" "That an adult adoptee may be ready to communicate." "You didn't give my name?" "Not until she confirmed her identity and signed a confidentiality acknowledgement." "And then?" "I gave her your name." "What did she say?" Thomas paused. "She cried." I closed my eyes. "Did she ask anything?" "She asked whether you were safe." "Not successful, not married, not angry, safe." "What did you tell her?" "That you are well and that you are deciding what comes next." "Does she know about the letters?" "She knows some were preserved." "Does she know my parents intercepted them?" "She suspected." I sat at the kitchen table. "Does she want to talk today?" "She said she would speak whenever you are ready. She also said she would wait if you need time." I looked at the photograph. "I'll talk to her." "When?" "Today." "Phone or video?" "Phone." "All right. I can arrange a call through the office at 4. Can she call me directly?" "She can, but I recommend the first contact be structured." "Why?" "Because emotions can be intense. I don't want a lawyer sitting between us. He does not have to remain on the line." "Then give her my number." Thomas was quiet. "Elise, are you certain?" "No." That was the most honest answer I had. "But give it to her." At 2:12, I received a message from an unknown number. "This is Mara. Thomas gave me your number with permission. I will not call unless you ask. I have waited a long time and I can wait longer if that is what you need." I read it at my desk while a contractor explained a problem with plaster samples. His viason. Ice became noise. I looked at the message again. Then I typed, "Can you call at 4?" Her reply came in less than a minute. "Yes." At 3:55, I sat in my car outside the Greyhaven Public Library. I did not want to take the call at work. I did not want to take it at home beside the letters. The car felt neutral. 4 o'clock arrived. Then 4:01. At 4:02, my phone rang. I watched the number for 2 seconds before answering. "Hello?" Silence. A breath. Then a woman said, "Elise?" My name sounded different in her voice. Not unfamiliar, recognized. "Yes," she exhaled. "I'm sorry. I told myself I would not cry immediately." "You don't have to apologize. I have done that too much." Her voice was low and warm. She sounded tired. I did not know what to say. Neither did she. 9 seconds passed. I counted. Then Mara said, "Are you safe?" The same question. "Yes." "Are you alone?" "Yes." "Is that okay?" "Yes." Another silence. "I don't want to overwhelm you," she said. "I found the letters." "All of them?" 7. I sent more. I know. I kept copies for a while, but we moved, and some were lost. It's okay. No, it isn't. The words were firm. I pressed my hand against the steering wheel. What happened? She inhaled slowly. Which part? All of it. That is too much for one call. I have had nothing for 28 years. You're right. She did not defend herself. She did not tell me to be patient. She simply said, "You're right." Then she began. Mara's father became ill when she was 18. He owned a small printing company and had raised her alone after her mother died. Mara became pregnant during her first year of nursing school. My biological father left before I was born and later signed away his rights. Alden's illness grew worse. Mara worked nights and cared for him during the day. When I was 2, she lost her apartment after the building was sold. She moved into a shelter for 6 weeks, then into a rented room where children were not permitted. A social worker suggested temporary guardianship. The Mercers had been approved as foster caregivers. They wanted a child. Mara wanted time. The plan was 12 months. She visited twice during the first 3 months. Then my mother complained that the visits upset me. They didn't, Mara said. You cried when I left. Celia said that proved the visits were harmful. What did you think? I thought I had no power. Her answer was quiet. Alden hired a lawyer. That is when the written agreement was created. He wanted to make sure you would know who we were. Why did you agree to adoption? Mara's breathing changed. Your parents said they would fight to terminate my rights. Their lawyer argued that you had bonded with them and that moving you would cause harm. My father was dying. I had no stable home yet. I was afraid. A court would decide I was selfish for trying to bring you back. My mother had called me selfish whenever I asked for anything that belonged to me. She had likely used the same word against Mara. Did you want me back? Yes. The answer came immediately. Then why sign? Because they promised I would still exist in your life. I looked through the windshield at the library steps. A child ran toward a woman holding a stack of books. The woman bent down and caught him. I thought, Mara continued, that if you were safe and loved, I could accept being outside the house. I did not know they would erase the road back. I closed my eyes. Did you know about the money? Yes. Why was there money? My father did not trust them. The honesty surprised me. He believed they cared for you, but he believed money changed people. He wanted every expense connected to you documented. It wasn't. No. Did you know they used it? Not until years later. How? One of the yearly accountings stopped arriving. My father's attorney asked questions. Your parents changed attorneys. Then my father died, and the trust administration became complicated. Why didn't you sue? I tried. What happened? The attorney said proving misuse would be difficult without access to their records. He also warned that a legal fight might make your parents cut off every possible update. They already had. I kept hoping that one photograph would arrive. Her voice broke on the last word. I pressed my fingers against my mouth. I'm sorry, I said. No. Elise, no. You do not apologize to me. I don't know what else to say. You don't have to say anything. We sat on the phone breathing. Two strangers with the same face. I saw your staff page, I said. She laughed softly through tears. That photograph is terrible. It says you have 3 children. The line became silent. Yes. You counted me. Every time. I looked down at my hand. The silver bracelet caught the light. Evan and Sophie know? Yes. What do they know about me? Everything I could tell them. Do they resent me? No. You answered quickly. Because I know. How? They helped search. Thomas said Evan did. Sophie did too. Evan handled the records because Sophie gets impatient with forms. A small smile moved across my face before I could stop it. What are they like? Mara's voice changed. It warmed. Evan repairs medical equipment. He takes everything apart before reading instructions. Sophie teaches second grade and believes every problem can be solved with snacks. That sounds useful. It often is. Do they want to meet me? Yes. Again, immediate. But they will follow your pace. What about your husband? Daniel knows everything. Does he want to meet me? He has wanted to for years. The idea of people wanting me before meeting me felt dangerous. I did not know how to trust it. I don't want anyone expecting me to become part of a perfect family, I said. We are not perfect. I mean it. So do I. I can't replace 28 years. I would never ask you to. I may get angry. You should. I may disappear for a while. Then I will wait. You say that now. I have practiced. The sentence hurt and comforted me at the same time. I wiped my face. Can I ask something strange? Yes. Did you hum? Mara went quiet. When I was a baby. Yes. What song? She hummed 4 notes. The tune from the music box. My body recognized it. A memory without an image. I lowered my head over the steering wheel and cried. Not neatly, not quietly. For years, I had believed my first memories belonged to a house that never fully wanted me. Now a tune had opened a door beneath memory. Mara stayed on the line. She did not fill the silence. She did not tell me to calm down. After several minutes, I asked, Would you meet me? Yes. Not at your house? Of course. Somewhere halfway. There is a town called West Haven between us. I know it. There's a hotel near the river with a quiet restaurant. Saturday? Yes. Just you. A pause. Then, just me. I heard the disappointment she tried to hide. I'm not ready for everyone. I understand. I may be later. That is enough. We ended the call after 57 minutes. I sat in the car until the library lights came on. My mother called while I was driving home. This time I answered. Elise. Her voice carried relief and anger in equal parts. Where have you been? Working? You have ignored us for 2 days. I needed space. Families do not solve problems through silence. I almost laughed. What do they solve through intercepted letters? The line went still. Ruth filled your head with half-truths. I read the agreement. You do not understand the circumstances. I understand that Mara was supposed to remain in contact. My mother inhaled sharply. You spoke to her? Yes. The word landed like breaking glass. You had no right. For 1 second I could not speak. Then I asked, No right to speak to my own mother? I am your mother. The old locked door, same sentence, same tone. This time, I did not stand in front of it. You are one of them. Her breathing changed. Elise, that woman was unstable. She became a nurse. Employment does not make someone stable. She sent letters. She disrupted your attachment. I never saw them. Because I protected you. You protected your position. That is cruel. No, it is accurate. My mother's voice became softer. That was when she was most dangerous. You have no idea what I sacrificed for you. The money? Silence. Is that what this is about? She asked. It is part of it. You think we used you? Did Dad sign my name on a loan? That was a family decision. I was 19. You benefited from that business. How? It supported our household. I lived 600 miles away and paid my own rent. We paid for your childhood. Alden paid too. Her voice sharpened. You are being manipulated by dead people and strangers. Mara is not a stranger. You spoke once. She knew the mark on my elbow. My mother said nothing. She knew the song from my music box. Still nothing. She knew my birth weight. Elise. You told me the records were incomplete. I did what I believed was best. For who? For this family. There it was, not for me, for the structure she controlled. I need you to listen carefully, I said. I will not discuss the bank records without Thomas present. I will not discuss Ruth's will. I will not accept calls from relatives speaking for you. If you want to communicate, send an email. You are setting rules for your parents? Yes? You sound just like her. Which her? My mother went silent. She had meant Mara, or Ruth. Perhaps both. Women who refused to let her own the whole story. I am asking you to come to dinner next week, she said. No. It is your father's anniversary. Their 35th wedding anniversary. I had forgotten. We made reservations months ago. I won't be there. Lauren will be there. That does not change my answer. We need to speak face to face. With lawyers. This is a family dinner. Then do not discuss legal documents. Another silence. My mother changed tactics. Your father is not sleeping. That is unfortunate. He could lose his job. Why? The old loan has raised questions. Questions created by his signature. You are enjoying this. The accusation was wrong, but it found the place where guilt lived. I am not. Then prove it. Come to dinner. Let us talk calmly. My mother always used calm to mean quiet enough for her to remain in control. What do you want me to sign? The question slipped out. Her silence lasted too long. What makes you think there is anything to sign? Because you never invite me to expensive restaurants without a reason. That is insulting. Is there a document? It is only a clarification. What does it clarify? That you have no claim against family property. I closed my eyes. The plan stood in front of me. A public table, an anniversary, relatives nearby. A document described as harmless. If I refused, I would be the daughter ruining a celebration. What property? The house, certain accounts. Things that were never intended to be part of this. Part of what? Your adoption arrangement. My adoption arrangement paid for the house. That is an outrageous interpretation. Send the document to Thomas. There is no need to involve him. Then I will not sign. Elise, if you come to that dinner with a lawyer's attitude, you will regret it. The sentence was not shouted. It was worse because it was rolled. What does that mean? It means your father and I are reaching the end of our patience. I looked through the windshield at the road ahead. Streetlights passed in even intervals. 1, 2, 3. What happens when your patience ends? I asked. My mother's voice became cold. Then you will have to decide whether you are still part of this family. The cruel line had not fully arrived yet, but I could hear it approaching. I will think about dinner, I said. You will come. I said I will think. I ended the call. At home, I wrote down every word I remembered. Not because I wanted revenge, because memory becomes negotiable around people like my mother. A record did not. The next morning, Thomas reviewed the notes. She is trying to obtain a waiver, he said. Can it hurt me? Depending on the language, yes. Would she really ask me to sign away claims at an anniversary dinner? She may hope social pressure will make you comply. What if I go? I advise against signing anything. I won't. Then why go? I looked at Mara's photograph. Because I want to see what they do when I finally say no. Thomas studied me. That can be emotionally expensive. I know. You do not owe them a confrontation. I know. Then be certain you are going for yourself. I thought of 28 years of edited stories. The birthday cake, the envelope, the college money, the forged signature, my father's silence, Lauren's certainty that belonging belonged to her. I am going because they believe the room still belongs to them. Thomas nodded slowly. What do you want from me? The document reviewed. Of course. And I want you nearby. At the restaurant? Yes. As counsel? As a witness. He leaned back. That changes the evening. It was already changed. I had not yet decided who would sit 3 tables away. I only knew the table would no longer contain the whole truth. The next 3 days taught me that a plan could be quiet and still feel like thunder. Thomas reviewed the document my mother wanted me to sign. She sent it to me at 11:40 on Thursday morning with the subject line, Family Clarification. The attachment was 9 pages long. The first 2 pages described the anniversary dinner and my parents' wish to restore harmony. The remaining pages asked me to release every past, present, and future claim connected to funds received during my childhood, the Linden Street house, my father's failed business loan, and Ruth's estate. The final paragraph said I acknowledged that all money spent by my parents had been used for my benefit. I called Thomas before I finished reading. They want me to sign a lie, I said. Yes. They put the dinner invitation in a legal release. It is unusual. That is a polite word. I have others. I looked at my screen. Would this protect them? If properly executed, it could make recovery much harder. Some clauses may not hold, but signing would create problems. They expect me to do this at the table. They expect you to be embarrassed enough not to read it. My mother had always treated embarrassment as a leash. She knew I disliked conflict in public. She knew I hated being watched. She knew I would rather lose something quietly than make strangers turn their heads. Or she thought she knew. What happens if I refuse? I asked. Legally, nothing immediate. And personally? You know them better than I do. I did. That was the problem. Thomas told me the bank had found the original loan file. My signature appeared in 4 places. A notary stamp appeared beside one of them. The notary had died 6 years earlier. His journal was still held by the county clerk. There was no entry for me. Does that prove the signature was forged? I asked. It proves the notarization did not happen as recorded. A handwriting review will address the rest. Who submitted the document? Your father. And Mom signed the spouse page. Yes. I watched a drop of coffee move down the outside of my cup. What happens next? The bank has opened an internal fraud review. We filed notice that you dispute the signature. You are not responsible for the debt. I never knew there was debt. That helps. Can my parents sell the house? Not easily. We filed a notice connected to the disputed funds. It does not transfer ownership to you, but it prevents them from quietly moving the property while the matter is reviewed. My mother would hate that most. Not losing the house. Losing the ability to control what happened to it. Do they know? They were notified this morning. That explained why she finally sent the release. I opened another email from her. Please sign before dinner so we can celebrate without ugliness. I read it aloud to Thomas. He was silent for a moment. Do you still intend to attend? Yes. Then do not arrive alone. I won't. I had met Mara in person the previous Saturday. The hotel in West Haven stood beside a river that moved brown and slow beneath an old iron bridge. The restaurant had blue curtains, small round tables, and a fireplace no one needed in October. I arrived 20 minutes early. Mara arrived 27 minutes early. I knew because I saw her through the window while I was still sitting in my car. She stood near the hostess desk holding a paper bag with both hands. She wore a navy sweater, dark pants, and flat black shoes. Nothing about her looked dramatic. That helped. I watched her thank the hostess twice. I watched her choose a chair facing the door. I watched her stand again because she could not stay seated. Then I went inside. She saw me before I reached the table. Her hand rose toward her mouth. For 1 second, neither of us moved. Then she said, "Hi." The word was almost a whisper. Hi. She did not hug me. She did not reach for my hand. She waited. I sat across from her. The table between us was 28 inches wide. I measured it with my eyes. Mara looked at my face as if she were trying to be respectful and failing. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know staring is rude. It's okay. You look like my mother when she was young. I thought you said I had Alden's mouth." Her eyes widened, then she smiled. "You read the photograph?" "Yes." That was his favorite joke. He said the veil mouth was the reason none of us knew when to stop arguing. "I don't argue much. You might after enough time with us." The sentence was ordinary. That made it kind. A waiter brought water. Mara thanked him, then forgot to open the menu. The paper bag remained near her feet. "What's in that?" I asked. She looked down. "Things I brought and may not give you." "What kind of things?" "Photographs. Copies of letters. A baby hat." "Too much." "I'd like to see them." "Now?" "Yes." Her hands trembled slightly as she lifted the bag onto the table. The first object was a pale green knitted hat. It fit in her palm. "You wore this home from the hospital," she said. I touched the edge with one finger. "Why did you keep it?" "I kept everything I could." The answer held no accusation. That made it heavier. She showed me photographs of myself before the Mercers. I was 2 months old, asleep against her shoulder. I was 7 months old, sitting in a laundry basket. I was 1, standing between Mara and Alden with both hands raised. At 2, I wore red rain boots and held a broken umbrella. At 3, I sat on a kitchen floor beside a metal mixing bowl. There were 12 photographs. My parents had told me there were no early pictures because Mara had not provided any. "She sent these with the first contact package," I said. "Yes." "My mother said they never existed." Mara lowered her eyes. "I learned a long time ago that arguing with Celia gave her another reason to close the door." "You met her more than twice." Mara looked up. "What makes you say that?" "The way you said her name." She held my gaze. "I spoke to her on the phone many times. In person, I saw her 4 times. Ruth knew about 2. Ruth was not present for the others." "When?" "Once outside your school." My body became still. How old was I? 11. "Did you speak to me?" "No." "Did I see you?" "I don't think so." "What were you doing there?" "I wanted to see you leave school." The words could have sounded frightening from someone else. From Mara, they sounded ashamed. I stood across the street. I told myself I would only stay for 1 minute. "How long did you stay?" 23. I almost smiled. She counted too. "What happened?" "Celia saw me." "How?" "She was picking up Lauren." "Of course she was. I walked home most days." "What did she say?" "She crossed the street and told me that if I came near you again, she would report me for harassment and make sure you believed I was dangerous." "Did you believe her?" "I believed she could make you believe it." That was different. And true. "The 4th time?" I asked. "Your university graduation." I stared at her. "You were there?" "Outside." "Why didn't you come in?" "I did not have a ticket." "You could have waited." "I did." My throat tightened. "Where?" "Near the north entrance." I remembered the north entrance. Families gathered there after the ceremony. Students held flowers and posed beneath a stone arch. Ruth had taken my photograph. My parents had left before the ceremony ended because Lauren had a migraine. "Did you see me?" "Yes." "Did I see you?" For a second. A memory moved at the edge of my mind. A woman near the stone wall. Dark hair. A blue scarf. I had looked at her because she was crying. "I remember someone," I said. Mara's hands tightened around the napkin in her lap. "I wore a blue scarf." I closed my eyes. "I saw you." "You looked toward me. Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you were smiling with Ruth. You had your degree in your hand." I thought walking into that moment with a story you did not know would be selfish. The word again. Selfish. My mother used it to take. Mara used it to stop herself from taking. "Did you leave?" "After you drove away." Ruth never told me. She did not see me. I wish you had said something. I know. I also might have hated you for it. I know that too. We ordered lunch. Mara chose vegetable soup. I ordered a turkey sandwich and ate half. She did not ask me to call her mom. She did not ask whether I loved my adoptive parents. She did not tell me how much she had suffered until I asked. The restraint made every answer easier to believe. After lunch, she told me about Evan and Sophie. Evan had our grandfather's old printing press stored in his garage even though it no longer worked. Sophie had written me letters for 5 years, then stopped because she worried the letters made Mara sad. Do you still have them? I asked. All of them. Would she let me read them? You can ask her. Does she know we're meeting? Yes. What is she doing right now? Checking her phone every 3 minutes while pretending she isn't? And Evan? He is checking every 5. I looked at the river through the window. I want to meet them. Mara did not move. Today? Yes. They're nearby. I turned back. You brought them? I asked them to stay at a coffee shop 2 blocks away. You said you would come alone. I did come alone. That is a technical answer. You are right. For the first time, I saw fear in her expression. Not fear that I would reject her. Fear that she had repeated something my mother did. I should have told you, she said. Yes. I thought if you changed your mind, they could leave without you knowing. But now I know. Yes. She reached for her phone. I'll tell them to go. No. She stopped. I still want to meet them. Are you sure? No. She smiled faintly. That seems to be our family answer. Evan arrived first. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself like someone used to lifting heavy equipment. His hair was darker than mine. His mouth was exactly the same. He stopped 3 steps from the table. Hi, Elise. Hi. I had a speech. What happened to it? It was bad. That probably helped. He laughed once, then his eyes filled. He looked away toward the river. Sophie came in behind him carrying a box from a bakery. She was smaller than both of us, with Mara's eyes and curly hair pulled into a loose knot. She set the box on the table. I brought snacks, she said. Mara sighed. I told her lunch was included. Problems still exist after lunch. Sophie looked at me. I'm sorry. That was too normal. No, it was fine. Fine. Not warm, just fine. Except this time, the word meant something else. It meant I could breathe. Sophie opened the box. Inside were 6 small lemon cakes. I didn't know what you liked, she said, so I bought the thing I would want during an emotional crisis. That seems practical. Thank you. She sat beside Evan. For a while, we asked simple questions. Where do you live? What do you do? Do you have pets? Evan had a large dog named Bolt, who feared vacuum cleaners. Sophie lived in an apartment above a florist and killed every plant she brought upstairs. I told them about restoration work. Evan asked about structural testing. Sophie asked whether old houses felt haunted. Mostly by poor plumbing decisions, I said. She laughed. Mara watched the 3 of us with one hand pressed against her lips. I noticed and looked away. The meeting lasted 2 hours. No one tried to make it larger than it was. Before we left, Sophie reached into her bag and removed a folded piece of paper. I wrote this when I was 11, she said. You don't have to read it now. I took it. Thank you. Evan gave me his phone number. No pressure, he said. You can text me in 10 years if that's what works. That seems excessive. 9? Maybe. He smiled. When we stood, Mara hesitated. Can I hug you? I nodded. She held me carefully at first, then tighter. The tune from the music box moved through my memory. 4 notes, a painted moon, a voice near my ear. I did not suddenly become complete. Nothing that simple happened. I felt grief, anger, relief, suspicion. Love was not there yet, but recognition was. Sometimes that comes first. If you have ever received a letter, photograph, or small piece of proof that changed the story you were given, comment letter. Evidence does not erase lost years, but it can stop someone else from owning them. Stay with me, because the next table my family shared would include every lie my mother expected me to sign, and 3 people she had spent decades keeping out of the room. I told Mara about the anniversary dinner before we left. Her face changed when I named the restaurant. Celia knows that place. She chose it. Why do you want us there? I don't know if I do yet. That is fair. I want you nearby. I don't want you to speak unless I ask. I can do that. Can Evan and Sophie? Mara looked toward them. Sophie placed one hand over her chest. I teach 8-year-olds. I can remain quiet under extreme conditions. Evan shook his head. She cannot. I can for at least 7 minutes. Despite myself, I laughed. That decided something. Not everything. Enough. Thomas reserved a table under the name Price for 3 people. It sat near the back wall of the restaurant, 3 tables from the private alcove my mother had requested for the anniversary. He would wait at the bar. I would carry the disputed release in a cream folder. The brass key would remain in my pocket. Thomas asked whether I wanted a security plan. What does that mean? A driver. Someone to walk you out. Notice to the restaurant manager. Do you expect danger? Not physical danger. Then what? Pressure. A scene. Attempts to prevent you from leaving with documents. My mother would never grab me. No. He adjusted his glasses. She would ask someone else to close the door. He understood her quickly. I arranged for a car. I also called Ruth. She wanted to attend. No, I said. I am responsible for part of this. You are also 78 and taking medication for your heart. My heart has survived your mother since she was 24. That is not a medical standard. She laughed. Then she became serious. I do not want you standing alone. I won't be. There was a pause. You are bringing Mara. Yes. Ruth exhaled. Good. You knew I would? I hoped. She does not hate you. She has reason to. She said you were the only person who sent her a photograph after I turned 6. Ruth looked away from the phone camera. I sent one. She kept it. I should have sent more. We stayed quiet. Then Ruth said, I signed the statement Thomas prepared. What statement? A record of what I witnessed. Your mother's refusal to honor the agreement. Your father's knowledge. The visit from Alden. The letters. Why didn't you tell me? I am telling you now. Will Thomas use it at dinner? If needed. Grandma, this is an anniversary dinner, not a hearing. No. Your mother chose a dinner because she thinks manners are stronger than facts. Ruth leaned closer to the camera. Do not confuse keeping your voice low with keeping the peace. I won't. And do not sign anything. I know. People still make mistakes while knowing better. I smiled. You sound like yourself. I am trying to enjoy it while your mother still insists I am confused. The afternoon before the dinner, my father came to my office. So he had never visited before. Barlow Finch occupied the 2nd floor of an old textile warehouse. Original beams crossed the ceiling. The reception desk stood on wheels because we often moved it during public events. My father looked around as if he had entered the wrong building. The receptionist called me from the drafting room. There's a man asking for you. He says he's your father. He stood beside a display of the Lyric Theater restoration. My name appeared beneath the project photographs. He was looking at it when I approached. Dad? He turned. His face looked older than it had the week before. We need to talk. I have a meeting in 20 minutes. This won't take long. I led him into a small conference room. He sat without removing his coat. For several seconds, he looked at the table. I counted 4 before he spoke. Your mother should not have sent that document. No. I told her it was too much. But you signed it. His eyes lifted. How do you know? Your name is at the bottom. He rubbed one thumb against the edge of his wedding ring. It was meant to protect the house. From me? From lawyers. The lawyers came because you signed my name. That loan was repaid. That does not make the signature real. I was under pressure. So was Mara. He flinched. You spoke to her. Yes. What did she tell you? The truth. You heard her version. I read your version at the bank. He leaned back. Elise, I know how this looks. It looks documented. You don't understand what was happening then. My company was restructuring. We had 2 children. Your mother was terrified we would lose the house. So you used money connected to me. It was part of our family finances. It was restricted. The paperwork was complicated. My name was simple. He closed his eyes. I made a mistake. A mistake is using the wrong account number. What do you want me to call it? A choice. He opened his eyes. I held his gaze. You made a choice to sign my name. Mom made a choice to sign beside it. You both made a choice every time you let me believe there was no money for school. We paid it back. To the bank. Yes. Not to me. His jaw tightened. You received a home, food, clothes. So did Lauren. That is not the point. It is exactly the point. He looked toward the glass wall. People moved in the drafting room beyond it. Do they know? Who? Your co-workers. No. Relief crossed his face. It lasted less than a second. You came here because you were afraid I told people. I came to ask you not to destroy your mother. The old shape. My mother hurt someone. My father asked the injured person to protect her. She destroyed letters from my biological mother. She believed contact would confuse you. She told me Mara did not want me. She was afraid. Of what? Losing you. You cannot keep someone by teaching them they were unwanted. Anted everywhere else. He looked down. For the first time, shame reached his face without turning into defensiveness. I know that now. You knew enough then. I knew she returned some letters. How many? I don't know. How many did you see? 4 or 5. Did you ever stop her? No. Did you ever save one? No. Did you ever tell Mara? No. Did you ever tell me? He shook his head. I counted the questions. 5. 5 chances for him to say something different. 5 no's. Why? I asked. His voice became small. Because every time I tried to challenge your mother, the house became impossible. I waited. He seemed to expect understanding. What does that mean? She stopped speaking to me. She cried. She accused me of choosing strangers over our family. She said Lauren needed stability. And I didn't? He closed his eyes again. That is not what I meant. It is what you did. He stood. I am asking you to come tomorrow without those people. Which people? The lawyer. Mara. Whoever else you have involved. They are not the ones asking me to sign a release during dinner. It can still be handled privately. It was private for 28 years. Elise. No. He stared at me. I had rarely said the word to him without an explanation. No excuse, no apology, just no. If you bring Mara, he said, your mother will see it as an attack. My existence was never an attack. I didn't say it was. You helped her treat every reminder of where I came from like one. My father's eyes moved to the Lyric Theater photographs outside the room. I didn't know you did all that. I followed his gaze. You were invited. He nodded once. The honest beat arrived too early to repair anything and too late to mean nothing. I should have come, he said. Yes, I am proud of you. Then why did you always let her make me smaller? His face changed. He had no answer. My meeting time arrived. I opened the conference room door. Tomorrow at 7, he said. I know. Please don't turn it into something it doesn't need to be. I looked at him. You already decided what it needed to be when you put a legal waiver beside the anniversary menu. He left without replying. The dinner took place at Aurelia, a restaurant in the center of Bellwether. The building had once been a bank. The old vault door remained behind the bar as decoration. My mother liked it because people took photographs near the marble columns. She had reserved the alcove beneath a painted ceiling. At 6:48 p.m., my car stopped across the street. I sat inside for 1 minute. Not because I wanted to leave, because I wanted to enter without carrying the speed of my heartbeat into the room. The driver asked whether I wanted him to wait. Yes. How long? I don't know. I'll stay nearby. I thanked him and stepped onto the sidewalk. The brass key rested in the right pocket of my coat. The cream folder sat beneath my arm. Inside the restaurant, the hostess smiled. Mercer anniversary? Yes. Your party has arrived. She led me past the bar. Thomas sat near the old vault door with a glass of water and a closed menu. He did not look toward me. 3 tables beyond him sat Mara, Evan, and Sophie. Mara wore the blue scarf from my graduation. I knew it immediately. Evan wore a dark jacket. Sophie had placed her phone face down beside her plate as if demonstrating good behavior. They did not wave. Mara only nodded. I kept walking. At 6:54 p.m., I entered the alcove. My parents sat at the center of the table. My mother wore a dark green dress and a necklace Ruth had given her years earlier. My father wore the same gray suit he used for funerals and business dinners. Lauren sat to my mother's right. Aunt Denise and her husband sat across from her. 2 couples from my parents' social circle completed the table. 8 place settings. My chair stood at the far end, not beside my parents, not beside Ruth's empty place. At the end, the visual had been arranged before I arrived. My mother smiled. You came. I said I would. She stood and kissed the air near my cheek. Her eyes moved to the folder. What is that? The document you sent. You didn't sign it? No. Her smile remained. Sit down. We'll talk after the toast. Lauren looked me over. You could have dressed up. I wore a black suit and a cream blouse. I did. She gave a small shrug. Fine. Not warm, just fine. I sat. At 7:02 p.m., the waiter poured sparkling water. My mother explained that they would order wine after the first course because she wanted photographs while everyone still looked fresh. Aunt Denise asked about Ruth. She tires easily now, my mother said. We are becoming concerned about her judgment. I looked directly at her. She spoke clearly when I called this afternoon. My mother adjusted her napkin. She has good hours. The lie was small enough to sound caring. That was her specialty. At 7:08 p.m., my father thanked everyone for coming. He spoke about 35 years of marriage. He mentioned loyalty, patience, and family. His eyes reached me once, then moved away. At 7:13 p.m., Lauren stood with a glass in her hand. I want to say something about Mom and Dad, she began. Her voice already sounded emotional. She thanked them for supporting every dream she had ever had. She described Linden Street as the heart of the family. Then she announced that she planned to turn the rear portion of the house into a studio for Lark House. My mother smiled proudly. My father looked down. This was the first I had heard of it, Lauren continued. And someday, when the house becomes mine, I promise I'll keep it exactly the way Mom designed it. Aunt Denise looked toward me. My mother did not. The house had been partly funded by money intended for me. Lauren had already inherited it in her imagination. At 7:16 p.m., everyone lifted a glass. I did not. My mother noticed. Is something wrong? I'm waiting for the part where we talk honestly. A shadow crossed her face. Not during the toast. You invited me to discuss the document. After dinner. I won't sign it after dinner either. The couples from my parents' social circle became very interested in their glasses. My father spoke quietly. Elise, this is not the time. It is the time you chose. My mother leaned toward me. We agreed to remain civil. I agreed to attend. At 7:19 p.m., the first course arrived. Roasted pear salad. My mother complimented the presentation. For 6 minutes, conversation moved around me. Travel plans, a neighbor's renovation, Lauren's winter candle line. No one mentioned the folder. No one mentioned why my mother's hand remained pressed against the edge of the table. At 7:26 p.m., she looked beyond my shoulder. Her face lost color. I did not need to turn. I knew who she had seen. Mara. My mother recognized her after 28 years. The blue scarf probably helped. Her fork stopped halfway to her plate. My father followed her gaze, his shoulders lowered. Lauren turned. "Who are you looking at?" "No one," my mother said. It was the first sign that she understood she no longer controlled every person in the room. At 7:29 p.m., she leaned toward me. "What have you done?" "I came to dinner." "You brought her here." "I invited people who matter to me." Her eyes sharpened. "This is our anniversary. And the release is my history." My father whispered my name. I ignored him. Lauren looked again. "Is that Mara?" My mother snapped her head toward her. Lauren's expression revealed the answer. She had seen a photograph. Perhaps that morning, perhaps years earlier. "You know what she looks like?" I asked. Lauren's face tightened. "Mom showed me something." "When?" "This week." My mother placed one hand over Lauren's. "Not now." I almost admired the efficiency. Even while unraveling, she managed the table. At 7:33 p.m., the main course arrived. Salmon for my mother, steak for my father, chicken for Lauren. I had ordered nothing because no one had asked. The waiter looked at me. "Ma'am, was there an issue with your order?" I wasn't given a menu. He glanced at the empty place in front of me. "I'm sorry. I can bring one immediately." My mother gave a strained laugh. Elise arrived late. I arrived 6 minutes before 7. The waiter looked uncertain. "Please bring her a menu," Aunt Denise said. My mother's eyes moved to her. Aunt Denise lowered her voice. "She needs to eat." "I'm fine," I said. This time, the word was true. At 7:36 p.m., my mother pushed her untouched salmon aside and reached beneath her chair. She lifted a leather document case onto the table. My father closed his eyes. "We should do this privately," he said. "We are private, Shah," he replied. 8 people sat at the table. Dozens sat beyond the alcove, but to my mother, privacy meant a room she believed she could manage. She removed a fresh copy of the release. A silver pen rested on top. "I had a simpler version prepared," she said. I opened my cream folder. I brought the original. Her gaze moved toward the papers inside. "You do not need those." "I disagree." "Elise," she said, using the patient voice she reserved for children and service workers, "your father and I have tried to resolve this without creating permanent damage. You asked me to declare that no money was misused. No money was stolen. I didn't use that word. You implied it. The bank used the word disputed." My father looked toward his friends. One of them shifted in his chair. My mother's face remained composed. "This agreement protects everyone. Everyone except me. You are not at risk." My signature was forged. Aunt Denise's husband looked at my father. "What is she talking about?" My mother raised one hand. "This is a misunderstanding involving an old business account. It involved a restricted fund in my name," I said. Lauren stared at my father. "You said the account was closed." "It was," he said. "That is not the same thing," I replied. My mother placed the pen beside my plate. "Sign this, and Thomas Hale will withdraw the notice against the house." "No. We can discuss adjustments." "No. You haven't read this version." "I will not sign any version tonight." Her eyes became cold. "Then why did you come?" "To say no, where you expected silence." No one moved. At 7:41 p.m., the restaurant's background music shifted to a piano piece. I counted the notes between my mother's question and her next sentence. 11. "You have humiliated us enough," she said. I have spoken quietly. "You brought that woman here." Mara remained 3 tables away. She did not turn. "She has a name," I said. You know nothing about her. I know she wrote to me. She was unstable. She kept copies. She abandoned you. The guardianship was temporary. My mother's mouth tightened. Do you understand what she was like at 19? Do you understand what I was like at 12 when you hid her letter? I was protecting you. You were protecting the story. My father put down his fork. Celia. She ignored him. You think finding a woman who gave birth to you makes her your family? No. My answer surprised her. Family requires more than biology. For 1 second, relief touched her face. Then I continued. It requires truth. It requires attention. It requires making room for someone without charging them gratitude for the chair. My mother's relief disappeared. At 7:44 p.m., Lauren pushed back from the table. I don't understand why this has to affect the house. Because money meant for me went into it. Mom said that was not true. Mom says many things. My mother turned toward her. Lauren, let us handle this. No. You said the lawyer was bluffing. My father looked at my mother. You told her? She was frightened. Because you promised me the house, Lauren said. My mother lowered her voice. You will be taken care of. With what? Lauren. With what, Mom? The first crack had opened. Not between my mother and me. Between my mother and the person she had always protected. At 7:47 p.m., my mother returned her attention to me. If you refuse to sign, you are choosing strangers over the people who raised you. No, I am choosing not to lie. You are destroying your father's reputation. He signed the document. He made one error. For my entire childhood, her face became pale. Do not be dramatic. I almost smiled. A forged signature. Destroyed letters. A hidden mother. A trust used for someone else. But my sentence was dramatic. The waiter approached with a menu. My mother waved him away. She won't be staying. The waiter looked at me. I did not move. I will decide that, I said. My mother's hand flattened against the table. This is our table. The sentence was so simple, so honest. Not our dinner, not our family. Our table, her arrangement, her version of who sat where. I reached into my pocket and placed the brass key beside the silver pen. The metal made a small sound against the plate. My mother stared at it. She recognized the number, Twine. How did you get that? Ruth gave it to me. She had no right. It was her box. She kept things that did not belong to her. She kept things you threw away. My father whispered, Elise, stop. I looked at him. No. At 7:50 p.m., my mother's calm broke. Not into shouting, into something sharper. If you walk away from this family for those people, do not expect to come back. I stayed seated. I have not walked anywhere. You filed against our home. I protected my legal interests. You brought lawyers into your father's business. He brought my signature into it first. Her eyes shone with tears. They appeared quickly. Performative tears had always been one of her most reliable tools. She looked around the table. I cannot believe this is happening on my anniversary. Aunt Denise stared at her salad. One of the family friends touched my mother's arm. Celia, maybe this should wait. No, my mother said. She wanted an audience. I looked beyond her at the restaurant. Mara sat straight, both hands around her water glass. Evan watched me. Sophie's phone remained face down. Thomas had turned slightly at the bar. They waited for me. No one moved before I asked. That was the difference. I did not ask you to invite 6 witnesses, I said. They are our friends, so they can hear the truth. My mother's tears stopped. She looked at me with the flat expression I remembered from childhood, the one that arrived after I named something she wanted left unnamed. You have always carried resentment into this house, she said. Even as a child. We gave you everything, and you stood outside every good moment waiting to accuse us. I thought of the birthday photograph. I had not stood outside it. She placed me there. You were difficult to love, she continued. My father said her name again, this time more firmly. She did not stop. You never accepted what we gave you. Lauren did. She understood family. Lauren looked at her. Mom. My mother pointed toward the release. Sign it, apologize, and we can move forward. No. Her face became still. Then you are no longer our daughter. The restaurant did not become silent all at once. It happened in pieces. A fork stopped moving. A glass touched a table. A waiter paused near the kitchen doors with a tray against his palm. My father looked down at the white tablecloth. Lauren lifted her wineglass but did not drink. My mother leaned closer. You were never truly one of us. She said it softly. That made it worse. The sentence had lived beneath every photograph, every unequal gift, every locked drawer. Now she had finally placed it on the table where everyone could see it. I counted the seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. At 5, my father looked up. Celia, take that back. She did not. At 6, Aunt Denise whispered, My God. At 7, I picked up the brass key. I did not cry. I did not raise my voice. I looked at my mother and understood that she believed she had used the final punishment. She did not know the punishment had stopped working. You are right, I said. Her expression changed. I continued. I was never truly one of you, not because I was adopted, because I never learned how to love people by controlling what they were allowed to know. My mother opened her mouth. I turned toward the room. Mara! 3 tables away, she stood. Her chair moved backward. Evan and Sophie stood with her. My mother's hand gripped the table. No. The word came out before she could reshape it. Mara walked toward us. She stopped several feet from the table. She did not look at my mother first. She looked at me. Do you want me here? Yes. Only then did she face Celia. My mother stared at the blue scarf. You should not have come. Mara's voice remained calm. I was invited. You have no place in this family. Mara glanced at me. That has never been yours to decide alone. At 7:54 p.m., Sophie and Evan reached the table. Sophie stood beside my chair. Evan remained slightly behind Mara. Lauren stared at them. Her gaze moved from Evan's mouth to mine. The resemblance was obvious. Aunt Denise covered her lips with one hand. This is your mother? She asked me. One of them, I said. Mara looked toward her. My name is Mara Vale Dalton. My mother gave a brittle laugh. You are enjoying this? No, Mara said. There is very little here to enjoy. The answer landed cleanly. My father stood. Mara. She looked at him. Douglas. You both know each other, Lauren said. Neither answered immediately. That silence told her enough. How many times did you meet her? Lauren asked my father. Years ago. That is not a number. My father sat again. My mother reached for the leather case. This dinner is over. No, I said. She looked at me. You disowned me in front of witnesses. You can hear what you tried to make me sign. I lifted my hand. Thomas stood from the bar. He carried a slim black case and walked toward us. My mother's face hardened. You arranged this? Yes. This is an ambush. No. An ambush hides the plan. You emailed yours. Thomas stopped beside me. Mr. and Mrs. Mercer, I am Thomas Hale. We have corresponded. We will not discuss this here, my mother said. Thomas looked at me. Do you want me to proceed? Yes. He opened the black case. The first document was the guardianship agreement. He did not read every line. He stated the facts. Temporary placement, 12 months, contact protections, annual updates, disclosure at age 12. My mother interrupted. Those provisions were not binding. Thomas nodded. Some may have been difficult to enforce. Their existence is not disputed. He placed the next document on the table. 7 preserved letters, photographs, returned envelopes, Ruth's signed statement, Mara's records of attempted contact. My mother looked around the table. This proves nothing except that an unstable young woman refused to accept an adoption. Mara's face remained composed. I accepted the adoption, she said. I did not accept being erased. Thomas continued. He showed the trust schedule. $225,000. $180,000 released for my care. $45,000 restricted until adulthood. Transfers. Missing accounting. The loan. The false notarization. The disputed signature. My father's face became gray. One of his friends pushed his chair back slightly. Lauren looked from page to page. You told me there was no trust. My mother said, you did not need to know. You told me Elise was trying to steal the house. She is. Thomas spoke before I could. No ownership transfer has occurred. A notice was filed because restricted funds may have been used to acquire or improve the property. The court will determine the appropriate remedy if the parties cannot resolve it. My mother pointed at me. She wants our home. I looked at the framed menu near her plate. No. I wanted my life to stop being used as collateral. At 8:03 p.m., Thomas placed the release beside the trust documents. The agreement presented to Miss Mercer asks her to waive claims and declare that all funds were used for her benefit. Available records do not support that declaration. My mother looked toward my father. Say something. He stared at the signature page. When he spoke, his voice was low. She didn't sign it. The sentence moved through the table. My mother closed her eyes. Lauren's glass slipped from her hand. It did not break. Wine spread across the white cloth. You forged her name? Lauren asked. My father did not answer. Dad? Yes. The word was barely audible. Why? We needed the loan. You said the company invested in you. I invested in the warehouse. With her money? It was not that simple. Lauren laughed once, a sharp, frightened sound. It is simple enough for you to promise me a house that might not be yours. My mother turned toward her. Do not speak to your father that way. Lauren stared at her. You were going to let me build a studio in a house tied up in fraud? Nothing has been proven. He just admitted it. My mother looked around the table for support. Her friends avoided her eyes. Aunt Denise sat very still. Celia, she said, did you throw away letters addressed to a child? My mother's face changed. They were harmful. To who? To everyone. Aunt Denise shook her head. No, to you. My mother's tears returned. This time, no one moved to comfort her. At 8:09 p.m., Thomas removed a sealed copy of Ruth's statement. My client also authorized me to clarify one additional matter. Ruth Mercer has not been declared incapable. She met independently with 2 physicians and separate counsel. She has transferred her house and investment assets into a protected living trust. My mother looked up. What? Her assets are no longer subject to informal family control. She cannot do that. She already did. My father closed his eyes. Who controls it? Lauren asked. Thomas did not answer until he looked at me. Elise is the successor trustee. My mother stood so quickly that her chair struck the wall. You manipulated her. No, I said. I learned about it after she signed. She promised that house to Lauren. Ruth's house, not Linden Street, another property my mother had already assigned in her head. Lauren turned. You said Grandma wanted me to have Orchard Lane. My mother ignored her. She is confused. Thomas's voice became firm. Mrs. Mercer, repeating that allegation after receiving medical confirmation may create additional legal concerns. My mother looked at him as if he had spoken in another language. For years, she had used concern as a weapon. Now the word had limits, paper limits, institutional limits, people outside the family who did not accept her tone as proof. At 8:12 p.m., Sophie placed one hand on the back of my chair, a small gesture. Steady. My mother saw it. You think these people are your family now? She asked. Sophie answered before I could. We are people who came when she asked. Simple. No grand claim, no demand. Mara looked at my mother. You told her I did not come back. You did. Not. I came as close as you allowed. You signed the adoption. I signed an agreement that required you to tell her my name. She was happy. You do not erase someone to keep a child happy. My mother's voice rose. You had no home. I built one. You had no husband. I found one. You were 19. I grew older. Each answer removed another excuse. Mara did not attack. She corrected the record. Truth was not a hammer. It was a scalpel. My mother had spent years wrapping the wound in pretty fabric. Now every layer was being cut away. At 8:16 p.m., the restaurant manager approached. Is everything all right? My mother turned toward him. This is a private family matter. He looked at the spilled wine, the papers, and the standing guests. Several diners have expressed concern. We are leaving, she said. I stood. No one is stopping you. She looked at me. For a moment, I saw the old expectation. I should apologize. I should gather her coat. I should make the room comfortable again. I did none of those things. My father remained seated. Lauren stared at the trust schedule. My mother picked up her purse. You will regret this, she said. Maybe. My answer seemed to confuse her. She had expected certainty. I may regret parts of it, I continued. But regret is not the same as being wrong. She looked toward Mara. This woman will disappoint you. Mara's face did not change. She might, I said. Mara glanced at me, surprised. So might Evan. So might Sophie. So might Ruth. Real family is not made of people who never fail. It is made of people who do not require a lie as the price of staying. My mother's mouth tightened. She walked out. No one followed immediately. That was new. At 8:19 p.m., my father rose. He looked at me. I am sorry. The words were too small for the room. I know, I said. He waited for more. I did not give it. He left after my mother. At 8:21 p.m., Lauren was still sitting. The chicken in front of her had gone cold. She looked at me with red eyes. Did you know about Grandma's trust? Since last week. You get everything. No. That is what he said. I am responsible for managing it. Ruth is still alive. It is still hers. And later? Most of it comes to me. Her face twisted. Why? Ask her. She won't answer my calls. Did you call before this week? Lauren looked away. The question landed without force because it did not need any. I loved her, she said. I know. You always act like I don't love anyone. I said love requires attention. I was busy. So was I. She looked toward the door where our parents had disappeared. Did they use your money for me? Some of it. The car? Probably. My business? I don't know. She pressed both hands against her face. I didn't ask them to steal from you. No. You think I'm part of this. You benefited from it. That is not the same. No. Shah. He looked at me. The agreement between us seemed to hurt more than an accusation. What happens to them? She asked. I don't know. Could Dad go to prison? I don't know. Could they lose Linden Street? Yes. Her eyes filled again. And you're okay with that? No. The answer surprised her. I don't want their house, I said. I want the records corrected and the money accounted for. What if they cannot repay it? Then a court may decide. You sound cold. I'm trying not to fall apart in a restaurant. She looked down. For the first time, she seemed to understand that composure was not the absence of pain. It was work. Aunt Denise came around the table and stood beside me. I'm sorry, she said. You didn't know. I knew things were unequal. That is different. Not different enough. She looked toward Mara. I remember seeing you once. Mara nodded. At the school? Yes. Aunt Denise covered her mouth. Celia said you were someone from the agency. I was. That was not the whole truth. No. The two family friends left without saying goodbye. My uncle followed after quietly shaking Thomas's hand. The restaurant manager offered to move us to a private room. I declined. I think we're finished. He removed my parents' entrees from the bill. I told him not to. They ordered them, I said. He looked uncertain. Thomas placed his card beside the check. I will handle it. No, I said. I took the bill. $486 before tip. My mother had chosen the menu and expected my father to pay. I paid for the table. Not because I owed them, because I wanted the final transaction to be clean. At 8:31 p.m., I stepped outside. Cold air moved down the street. My driver waited near the corner. Mara stood beside me, but did not touch me. Evan and Sophie remained a few steps away. Thomas asked whether I wanted him to come with us. No, thank you. He nodded. I will call tomorrow. I watched him walk toward his car. The brass key remained in my hand. I had picked it up from the table without remembering. Mara looked at it. Is that Alden's box? Yes. He would have liked you. You don't know that. I know he liked stubborn people. I put the key in my pocket. Sophie approached. Do you want us to leave? The question mattered. They had just watched my adoptive mother disown me. They did not assume the empty place belonged to them. No, I said. Not yet. We walked to a cafe that stayed open late near the courthouse. It smelled like cinnamon and burnt coffee. We sat at a round table near the window. 4 chairs, one for each of us. No one gave a speech. Evan ordered fries for the table. Sophie ate most of them. Mara asked whether I wanted to talk about the dinner. No. We talked about Bolt, the dog, who feared vacuum cleaners. We talked about Sophie's students. We talked about a printing press Evan wanted to restore. When I said I could help, he smiled. Only if you want. Everything with them came with an exit. That should not have felt revolutionary. It did. At 10:14, I went home. My mother had left 11 messages. I listened to none of them. My father left one. I deleted it without playing it. Lauren sent a text. I'm sorry for what she said. I don't know what happens now. I replied. Neither do I. That was the truth. Public vindication sounds satisfying when it is described from a distance. Up close, it was exhausting. I had not left Aurelia feeling victorious. I felt emptied. The sentence my mother used still hurt. The difference was that it no longer defined the whole room. If you have ever had to leave one table before you understood who was willing to make space at another, comment, table. Justice is not always a loud victory. Sometimes it is the first honest meal after years of being told you should be grateful for the scraps. Stay with me, because the consequences did not arrive all at once. They came in packets, and each one showed me who was sorry for the harm and who was only sorry the record existed. The first packet arrived on Monday. Thomas called at 9:05. The bank had confirmed that my signature did not match the samples on file. The false notary entry made the loan document unreliable. The matter had been referred to the bank's legal department. My father's attorney requested a meeting. The second packet arrived that afternoon. Ruth called to say my mother had come to Orchard Lane without notice. She brought a doctor's brochure, Ruth said. What kind of brochure? Memory care. I closed my eyes. What did you do? I asked whether she wanted me to sign it for her future use. Despite everything, I laughed. She left? After checking the locks? Why? She thinks I hid documents in the house. Did you? Of course. Grandma. Copies. I am old, not careless. Thomas arranged for someone to stay with her for several nights. Ruth objected until I reminded her that accepting help did not make her weak. She accused me of stealing her own words. I told her they were family assets. The third packet arrived on Wednesday. My father's company placed him on administrative leave. The failed warehouse investment had not involved his employer directly, but the renewed fraud inquiry raised questions about financial disclosures he had made while applying for a senior role. He blamed me in the first email he sent. "You could have handled this privately." I replied once. I tried to ask privately for 28 years. He did not answer. The fourth packet was Lauren. She came to my house on Thursday carrying 3 storage boxes. "I found these in Mom's office," she said. Inside were old account statements, 2 returned letters from Mara and Kopp, each of checks written from an account bearing my name. "Did she know you took them?" "No." "Then take them back." Lauren stared at me. "Why?" "Because I will not use documents you stole. They belong to you." "Maybe, but we will obtain them properly." "You're protecting her?" "No, I'm protecting the record." She sat at my kitchen table. The music box remained near the window. Lauren looked at it. "I remember this. You said you didn't." I lied. "Why?" "Because Mom told me it was from someone dangerous." "How old were you?" 7 or 8. "You were a child." "She said it made you sad." "It didn't." Lauren nodded. "I know that now." She opened the smallest box. Inside were photographs removed from the hallway frames over the years. My school portrait. A photograph of Ruth and me at the Lyric Theater. One of me standing beside a university model. My mother had kept them, not displayed. Kept. "Why?" I asked. Lauren shrugged. "I don't know." That answer was honest. My mother's love had always been mixed with ownership. Perhaps she removed the photographs because seeing me succeed without her permission felt like losing me. Perhaps she kept them because part of her did love me. Both could be true. Neither erased the harm. Lauren placed the boxes near the door. "You can tell Thomas they're here." "No, you need to tell him." "Why?" "Because you took them." Fear crossed her face. "Will I get in trouble?" "Probably not. But you need to say exactly what happened." She looked irritated, then ashamed. "All right." I made tea. She watched me move through the kitchen. "Did you meet them again?" she asked. "Mara and the others?" "Yes. Yesterday." "What did you do?" "We ate dinner." "That's it?" "That's enough." "Do they call you their sister?" "Evan and Sophie do." Lauren looked down. "Am I still your sister?" The question surprised me. I thought before answering. "Yes." Her eyes filled. "But that does not mean we are close," I said. She nodded. "I know." "And it does not mean I trust you." "I know." "And I will not help fund Lark House." Her mouth tightened. "I didn't ask." "You were going to." She almost denied it. Then she stopped. "Yes." Progress sometimes looked like an unfinished lie. She drank half her tea. Before leaving, she asked whether she could visit Ruth with me. "You can visit her without me. She won't answer." "Write a letter." "She might throw it away." I looked at the preserved envelopes near my desk. "Then write another." Lauren understood. Her face changed. She left without taking the boxes. Thomas arranged for them to be catalogued with Lauren's written statement. 2 returned letters contained notes in my mother's handwriting. "Do not respond. Contact no longer appropriate." One check paid the deposit on Lauren's car. Another paid the first invoice for Lark House inventory. My name appeared in the account. Title until I turned 25. After that, the remaining balance had been transferred into my father's joint account. $8,412. Not enough to change my life at 31. Enough to prove what happened. The 5th packet arrived from my mother. It was not an apology. It was a 4-page email describing every difficulty of raising me. I had nightmares. I resisted affection. I asked questions about Mara. I became distant after Lauren was born. I embarrassed her by discussing money with Ruth. I chose a career she did not understand. The email treated my personality as a series of injuries I had committed against her. Near the end, she wrote, "When I said you were never truly one of us, I was speaking from pain. A loving daughter would understand that." I read the sentence twice. Then I forwarded the message to Thomas. I did not reply. A loving daughter. The role remained available if I accepted responsibility for her cruelty. I declined. The sixth packet came from my father. He asked to meet alone. We chose a park near the river in Greyhaven. He arrived wearing the same dark coat he had worn to my office. We sat on a bench facing the water. For several minutes, he said nothing. I counted gulls. 3 near the railing, 2 above the bridge, 1 standing on a trash bin, 6. "I resigned," he said. "From the company?" "Yes." "Were you asked to?" "They gave me a choice." "I'm sorry." He looked at me. "Are you?" "Yes." He seemed confused. "I did not want you to lose your job," I said. "I wanted you to tell the truth." "The truth caused it." "No, the signature caused it." He looked toward the water. "I used to think those were the same thing." "What?" "The thing you do, and the day people find out." I waited. He rubbed his hands together. "Your mother found out I came to your office." "I assumed. She says I betrayed her." "Did you?" "Probably. The honesty was late. Still, it was honesty." "She wants me to say the signature was your idea," he continued. I turned toward him. "What?" "She wants us to say you agreed verbally because the loan would protect the family, that the notary record was an administrative error." "And what did you say?" "No." The answer came softly. I studied his face. "Why now?" "Because I have spent 35 years choosing the easiest lie in the room." The wind moved across the river. He looked older than he had at dinner. "I knew Mara wanted contact," he said. "I knew Celia returned letters. I knew the trust money was meant for you. I told myself we were using it to give you a stable home. You used it for Lauren." "Yes." "You used it for the warehouse." "Yes." "You let me borrow money for school while you signed mine away." His eyes filled. "Yes." Each answer arrived without defense. That was new. It was not enough, but it was new. "Why did you let Mom treat me differently?" He looked down at his hands. "Because when Lauren was born, Celia changed. She became afraid that loving you equally would somehow take something from Lauren. That makes no sense." "I know." "Did you know then?" "Yes." The word hurt more than denial. "What did you do?" "Nothing useful." "Why?" "Because your mother could make the house unbearable when she felt challenged. So you gave me the unbearable part." He covered his face. I looked toward the river. For years, I wanted one honest answer from him. Now I had it. Cowardice, not confusion, not complexity. He protected himself. "You were a child," he said. "You should never have been the person expected to absorb it." "No. I am sorry. I believe you." He lowered his hands. Hope appeared too quickly. "I do not forgive you yet," I said. It disappeared. "That is fair. I may never trust you." "I understand. You cannot ask me to protect Mom from the consequences." "I won't. You cannot ask me to withdraw the claim." He stared at the water. "I was going to." "I know." He nodded slowly. "I won't." We sat for another minute. Then he said, "I found something." He reached into his coat and handed me a small envelope. Inside was a key. Not the brass key to box 214, a newer silver key. "What is this?" "Your mother has a storage unit on Mason Road." "What is inside?" "Boxes from the old house, adoption papers, photographs, things she removed over the years." "Did you access it?" "No." "Why give me the key?" "Because the unit is paid from our joint account, but the contract is in her name." "That means I cannot enter legally." He looked ashamed. "I didn't think of that." "You still think the right object fixes the wrong process." He closed his eyes. "Yes." I returned the key. "Give it to Thomas." He took it. "I will." When he stood, he hesitated. Do you want me in your life? I looked at him. Not the way you were. He nodded. What does that mean? It means if there is a future relationship, it begins with the truth. No messages from Mom. No excuses. No asking me to repair what she breaks. All right. And you do not get to call one honest afternoon enough. I know. He walked away alone. That was his honest beat. It landed too late to save the old family. Maybe it arrived early enough to prevent him from losing every possible version of the new one. The settlement took 4 months. The bank did not pursue criminal charges after the loan was repaid, and my father admitted responsibility in a sworn statement. Thomas reminded me that the bank's decision was separate from mine. I could still file a civil claim. We calculated the original funds, the missing restricted account, and a reasonable estimate of what remained traceable. The number was larger than I expected, not because my parents had hidden millions, because time adds weight to money, interest, to property value, years. My parents could not repay everything without selling Linden Street. My mother refused. My father agreed. For 3 weeks they lived in separate bedrooms. Lauren called me twice to say I was breaking up their marriage. I told her I was not inside their marriage. She stopped calling about it. The final agreement required the sale of Linden Street within 6 months. A portion of the proceeds would restore the missing trust funds. My parents would retain enough to purchase a smaller home. The remaining disputed amount would be paid over time from my father's retirement accounts, within limits approved by the attorneys. I did not demand the maximum Thomas believed we might win. He asked whether I was certain. No, I said, but I don't want them homeless. That is not legally likely. I still want the agreement to guarantee housing money. He studied me. This is mercy, not obligation. I know. Do not later pretend they earned it. I won't. My mother called the provision insulting. She said I was performing generosity after stealing her home. I left the provision in place. That was the mercy beat. Not reconciliation, not surrender, a boundary with room for survival. Truth did not require me to become cruel. Linden Street sold in March. The new owners removed the decorative rocking chairs from the porch. I saw the listing photographs online. The hallway table was gone. The white frames were gone. The silver mail tray was gone. For a few minutes, I mourned a house that had rarely felt like mine. Buildings can hold pain without being guilty of it. I understood that better than most. Lauren closed Lark House before the sale. Without my parents paying storage, shipping, and inventory costs, the business could not continue. She took a job managing events at a hotel. She hated it for 2 months. Then she discovered she was good at it. The work required schedules, budgets, and consequences. She began arriving on time. She visited Ruth every other Sunday. At first, Ruth made her sit in the kitchen for short visits. No gifts, no dramatic apologies, just tea. Attention. Lauren wrote the letter Ruth requested. It was 6 pages. Ruth returned the first version. Too much explanation, she told her. Lauren wrote it again. The second version said, I accepted being favored because it felt good. I told myself it was not my responsibility. I know now that enjoying an unfair system helped keep it alive. Ruth kept that one. My relationship with Lauren remained uneven. Some weeks we spoke twice. Some months we did not speak at all. She still became defensive when the past came too close. I still expected selfishness before she showed it. We were sisters. Not healed, not erased, learning. My mother moved into a townhouse 20 minutes from Bellwether. She decorated it in cream and gray. The furniture matched. The photographs did not include me. This time I did not count them. She sent birthday cards. The first said, I hope one day you understand what you have done. I returned it unopened. The second arrived the following year. It said only, Happy birthday, Elise. I kept it in a drawer, not because it repaired anything, because the absence of accusation was the first small space she had left around my name. We did not speak for 18 months. Then Ruth became ill with pneumonia. My mother came to the hospital. So did my father. So did Lauren. Mara drove from Rosebridge with Evan and Sophie. For 1 hour, both versions of my family sat in the same waiting room. No restaurant, no legal folder, no arranged seats. My mother stood near the window. Mara sat beside me. My father brought coffee for everyone and asked each person what they wanted before ordering. A small correction. Late. Real. When Ruth woke, she asked why so many people were standing around looking guilty. Sophie laughed. My mother did not. Ruth recovered. She returned home after 9 days and complained that everyone had moved her kitchen tools. She lived long enough to see Evan restore Alden's printing press. I helped him rebuild the wooden base. The original machine weighed nearly 800 pounds and had to be moved into a workshop behind his house. Sophie painted one wall purple. For the room you never used, she told me. We spent weekends cleaning metal parts, replacing rollers, and searching for pieces no company manufactured anymore. Mara brought food. Daniel, her husband, stayed close without trying to become my father. He told me once, "There is no title you owe me." That was one of the kindest things anyone said. The first page we printed on Alden's restored press contained a single sentence. Promises made around a child still belong to the child. Evan framed one copy. I gave another to Ruth. She hung it where my porch drawing had once been. My relationship with Mara grew slowly. We did not skip the difficult parts. I asked why she signed. She answered. I asked why she stayed across the street instead of calling my name. She answered. Sometimes her answers made me angry. Sometimes I understood them. Often both happened at once. She never asked me to protect her from either feeling. That made trust possible. On my 33rd birthday, she gave me the original photograph from the hospital. I kept a copy, she said. You don't have to give me this. I know. Why now? Because it is your beginning too. We stood in her kitchen in Rosebridge. Evan was arguing with Sophie about the proper way to light candles. Daniel was carrying plates. A purple cushion sat on a chair near the window. Mara touched the edge of the photograph. I spent years thinking family meant waiting for you to return, she said. What does it mean now? Making sure you can leave without being punished. I looked toward the door. No one blocked it. No one counted how long I stayed. I stayed because I wanted to. Ruth died 2 years after the dinner at Aurelia. She was 81. Her death was quiet. So was the funeral. My mother attended. She sat in the second row beside my father. I sat in the first with Lauren on one side and Mara on the other. No one objected. Afterward, Thomas read Ruth's final letter to the family. She had written separate pages for each of us. To my father, she wrote that regret became useful only when it changed behavior. To Lauren, she left the blue china plate set. 5 plates remained. To my mother, she left the green necklace and one sentence. Love without room for truth becomes another kind of lock. My mother read it twice. She did not cry. To me, Ruth left the brass key. The safe deposit box was empty by then. Every document had been secured. Every letter had been copied. The key no longer opened anything important. That was why she wanted me to keep it. Her letter said, "You counted silence because you thought it measured how long you had to survive alone. I hope you now use numbers for better things." Windows restored. Chairs at the table. People who come when asked. Keep the key, even when there is no lock. Let it remind you that the truth was always yours, even before someone gave you access to it. I carried the key in my pocket at the funeral. My mother approached me near the cemetery gate. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not weak, simply no longer surrounded by the house, the table, and the people who helped her control the frame. I read Ruth's letter, she said. So did I. She was hard on me. She was accurate. My mother's mouth tightened, then relaxed. I loved you. I believed her. That was the tragedy. I know. She looked surprised. You do? Yes. You never act like it. Love was not the part I questioned. What did you question? What you were willing to do to keep it from being challenged. She looked toward Mara, who stood near the cars with Evan and Sophie. You call her your mother now. Sometimes. The answer hurt her. I did not offer a softer one. Do you call me that? When I talk about you. That is not what I asked. No. She looked down at the wet grass. I don't know how to fix this. The old version of me would have given her instructions. A call schedule. An apology structure. A path back into the room. I did not. I'm not asking you to fix it, I said. Then what do you want? The truth, when you are capable of saying it. And if I'm not, then distance. She nodded once. It was not reconciliation. It was the first conversation we had ever shared without her rearranging what happened before the sentence ended. My father came toward us. He stopped several feet away. He had learned to wait. My mother noticed. For once, she did not tell him where to stand. I walked back to the others. 3 tables away had become 3 steps. Then 2, then none. People ask whether I consider Mara's family my real family. The answer is yes, but not because of blood alone. Ruth was my real family. She simply paid attention. Evan and Sophie became my real family because they made room without demanding I use it. Lauren remained my real family because she finally learned that love was not proven by accepting the benefits of someone else's exclusion. My father became something unfinished. My mother became someone I could understand without allowing close enough to rewrite me. Family was not one perfect circle. It was a table built slowly from people willing to tell the truth about how the chairs were assigned. My mother's cruel line followed me for years. You were never truly one of us. In the end, I stopped hearing it as a verdict. It became a release. I was never truly one of the people who believed love required silence. I was never truly one of the people who confused control with protection. I was never truly one of the people who thought a child should repay belonging by surrendering her own history. That was not a rejection anymore. It was freedom. The brass key now sits in a small frame beside Mara's first letter and the photograph of Ruth standing beneath the Lyric Theater plaque. Visitors sometimes ask what it opens. I tell them the lock is gone. That is the point. If you have ever been told that belonging depended on becoming smaller, comment room. And if stories about quiet truth earned dignity and families rebuilt without pretending matter to you, subscribe and stay. My parents disowned me at dinner. My real family was sitting 3 tables away. But the truth is, they did not become my family when they stood up and crossed the room. They became my family when they waited for me to ask. That is my story.